Hello. Good morning, Love Wrestling. It is Thursday. It is 9 a.m. And it is time for some more Firmly Inc. here on Love Wrestling CA. I am JPJ as we welcome everybody into the chat. Sandy's here, all that fun stuff. Drew, my friend, how are we doing on this fine Thursday?
Good. I'm doing good.
Your audio is low.
What?
Okay, now you sound better. Your audio was really low when you started talking, but when you said what, it sounded better.
Well, wait. My volume might be a little low on this.
Oh, there you go. Now it's a little talk.
My volume is very low on this, actually. Yeah. What the hell?
Yeah. Now
something happened.
Now you're loud. Now you're loud.
Okay. There we go. Better?
Yeah. I would go a little lower.
Better now? Good?
Yeah, you should be all right
there. All right, cool. Yeah, my volume was all the way the hell down.
Yeah, you started talking and I was like, where are you? Are you're not, I can see you. You're not 100 feet away from the mic. Why are you so low? But yeah. It is Firmly Inc. We got a lot to talk about today. We have a massive PLE on Saturday. Emanating from Los Angeles, California, Money in the Bank. We're going to be previewing that today. There's some things that happened along the way, since the last time we talked. A beloved figure in WWE was informed that he was not going to have his contract renewed. So I figured, it's been news for almost a week at this point. You've heard everything you have to hear from most people, but you haven't heard it from us. So I figured we would touch on that a little bit. There was I don't know if you want to call it shocking, but there was a big debut on NXT Tuesday night that I think we were all kind of waiting for. That happened as well. And then last night we had the massive 4-hour Fyter Fest that AEW put on that we'll be kind of reviewing and going through and things of that. So it's a big week here. Every week at Firmly is a big week, but a lot to go over. A lot to discuss on today's episode. But yeah, man, I don't know where you want to start. Obviously, I know the Money in the Bank preview will be like the first thing we truly deep dive into because it's this weekend and it's a pay-per-view, a PLE. So that's what we're going to talk about. But, I don't want to start on a negative. It's usually not how I roll, but, I think we would be hard-pressed not to start with the news over the weekend that a couple people weren't getting their contracts renewed. Yeah. And I don't want to make it a disservice to the other people besides our truth here. But we found out over the weekend that Valhalla, Sarah Logan, was let go. And then we found out that Carlito and our truth weren't released, but both of their contracts are not going to be renewed. I would say it's not cool for either of them, but I feel like one of those two was a complete shock to everybody, including the other performers that work at WWE. Right. That's not discrediting Carlito. I actually think that he was even though he was, maybe the fifth wheel or so, I thought that, you had those backstage segments on Raw this week with the Judgment Day. And it didn't feel the same without Carlito there kind of making eyes at Raquel or cracking the one-liner comedic relief line at the end, eating the You know, it felt a little different. It felt like
Apparently, he
something
also
was
took the PS5 with him.
as he should. As he should. Screw that. I would have taken everything with me. I would have had them walk back to the Judgment Day clubhouse and it just was all gone. All of it. And they'd be like, God damn, Carlito took it all. You know, so like, I don't want to, I have a feeling our conversation here for however long we go about it is going to focus on R-Truth, because that's the big one that kind of shocked most of us here. But I do want to say that, you know, Carlito, even though maybe not in ring or like main storyline wise affects much. But again, those Judgment Day segments on Raw felt a little off to me without him then. Maybe it's just because it's recent and we know he should be there. I don't know. But I at least wanted to mention Carlito as well. But the one that shocked everybody, Drew, was R-Truth.
Absolutely.
A week prior, he's in a big-time match on Saturday night's main event against the world champion, against somebody who many people consider the greatest of all time, and John Cena. He has the most talked about moment in the Saturday night's main event with him coming out as Ron Cena and all that type of stuff. It was a good moment. It was fun. It was something I think we were all waiting for, the R-Truth John Cena thing in this last run of Cena. And then we find out a mere 7 or 8 days later that he puts on Twitter that, hey, he just found out that he's not getting renewed. Thanks the fans. And then it felt like a piece of all of us kind of died a little bit.
Yeah. You know, I had said that I didn't like the stupid guy gimmick of his, so I don't want people to be like, oh, well, now you're saying, because you know the morons, they like saying these things like, oh, well, all of a sudden now you care about R-Truth when he's being released, but you didn't care about him in the match.
Yep.
You can have two opinions of maybe the match could have been better with John Cena, and also he shouldn't be released. Correct. You are allowed to have both of those opinions. It's okay. And in my opinion, you're right to have both of those opinions, because the match was fine at Saturday night's main event. I mean, it was nothing to write home about. But if you know, as WWE very well knew, it's not like it was a shock to us. It wasn't a shock to them.
Yeah.
If you know that you are going to be releasing, let's call it.
Yeah, it's not a release. I think
soft releasing.
Yeah, you're not renewing the contract. It's a little bit of a difference. I want to make sure there's a difference. Like Dakota Kai woke up and was fired and didn't have a job. Like that's a lot different,
right,
than being told, hey, we're not re-signing you. The re-signing part of it, that happens in everyday sports. Every sports team that I love at the end of every year tells a bunch of dudes, hey, you're not coming back next year. So like it still stinks, but it is it's not like R-Truth woke up to a phone call saying, hey, you're not, like, you're released. Like, you know, it's a little different, but still.
And Sandy, I will say probably he did not know.
No. It feels like nobody really knew except the powers that be, obviously.
Because boy, the reaction to it has been incredible, really.
And I don't think it's going to stop. I don't think it's going to stop, Drew, for a little bit. Like it will be something that eventually people will calm down on, because that's just the nature of things. Eventually, out of sight, out of mind, and you forget about it. But at least for this little stretch here, like I don't expect, you know, there on Raw there were handful of times, maybe even more, where there were significant "We Want Truth" chants. You know, Sandy mentioned that in one of the backstage segments, Dominic was wearing a Carlito shirt. And if you saw a picture that Rhea Ripley posted before Raw, she was wearing an R-Truth shirt. But when Rhea was shown on Raw, she wasn't wearing the R-Truth shirt.
No, she wasn't.
And I think that, again, I don't know anything, but my guess would be that they probably told her, like, hey, they're already chanting for truth. We're you know, we understand what's going on here. If you wear that shirt, it's just going to fuel the fire. So can you not wear that shirt? Can you not wear that shirt?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there would never be fire to fuel if they weren't assholes. So,
I mean, again,
let's put something on the table here. All right.
It's a greater argument about WWE. All right. I'll let you go, and then I'll kind of,
Ever since the TKO takeover, interesting things have been happening. Some good, interesting things. I'll say 35%, 65% not good, interesting things. There's been a lot of just changes that have not benefited pretty much anybody. Ticket prices, which are...
Well, I mean, that's benefiting the people that matter. Which are the shareholders.
But I don't speak for the people that don't matter.
But I mean, in the way that they look at things, the only people that matter are those people. So
right. So, they're greedy as fuck, and they don't care. Which, I mean, WWE already kind of didn't care about retaining their performers and making them happy, because how did the pandemic start? With a bunch of releases. So that's a thing that's just, you can't blame TKO for that. WWE's been doing that for years. But there's just this real, like, they call themselves a family product. It's, it's that classic thing of like, oh yeah, my job, the boss says, we're family. This place is home. You are loved and you are welcomed. 9 times out of 10, that's not actually the case. They don't give a shit about you. You die, the next day they're replacing you.
I mean,
it's just the way the world works.
Yeah.
But to be treating people this way, I find disgusting. And
I mean, this is where we're going to slightly disagree, but go ahead.
Disagree on what?
They can't keep everybody.
Well,
it's a business. Like, at some point, you have to let people go. I'm not saying that R-Truth was the guy that you let go, but like, I'm not one of those people. Look, releases suck every time that they happen. They stink. It sucks when you see people lose their jobs. And I get that WWE makes a boatload of money. And if they really wanted to, they could keep everybody, but it would not make business sense for, and I want you to finish your point. My focus is not so much on the fact that people got released. It's just the idea of the mindset behind this, specifically with R-Truth. Because I feel like, again, I want you to continue your thing, but like, I've kind of never been one of those people that is like, they should never release anybody. Like, they should keep. It's a business. I watch pro sports, Drew. People get released all the time, and I don't go on the internet and bitch and moan that the Red Sox shouldn't have released this guy, because you know what I mean. It's just I can separate that stuff. To me, this feels like they just don't give a shit. Like, it's not. It's just a different thing for me, because I see this and I go, do you not read the room at all? Like, R-Truth is one of the most beloved people on your roster. Like, by everybody. The fans, all this, like, and it's just like, when you make a move like that, to me, that shows me that you don't give a shit about any of that at all. Like, it has nothing to do with that. Like, R-Truth is 53 years old. Are you telling me that he's asking you for like if you would have went to R-Truth and said, hey man, we appreciate what you bring to us. The fans love you. We love you. Tell us what would be a good number for you to keep you here until you don't want to be here anymore. Is that number going to be too much that you can't afford that?
Right.
But yet you have people in the
$10 million. I mean, come on.
Yeah, he's not going to ask for John Cena money, I wouldn't think. Like, I'm sure he would be a reasonable dude and be like, let's talk about it. Have a conversation at least. To me, it just feels like WWE has been like ripping the soul. And look at WWE was run by one of the most soulless people for the fucking history of time. Okay. But WWE, when you watch the product, it still felt like it had heart and soul for a little bit, like for most of the time, even though it was run by this terrible person. And I feel like since TKO has taken over, the heart and soul of how you feel about watching it has completely been just ripped and ripped and ripped and ripped away. And that's really the thing that bothers me.
It's not the product that I enjoyed last year when I came back into really watching it full time. I don't think anybody can really say that.
There we go. Hell yeah.
I saw it happen.
Like, to me, it's.
First of all, I mean, The Rock kind of just, I don't know what the hell happened to him this year. He's just like involving himself in shit and then dipping and going, oh yeah, I don't need to be in, you could like, how are you a storyteller and you tell me that being the centerpiece of a major storyline isn't worthy of you finishing that story and carrying it out on TV the way that you. I mean, it's just like to go on Pat McAfee's show and be like, oh, they didn't need me anymore. What? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That I feel like ever since that moment, there's just been weeks long of just like basically uninteresting. I mean, there's not a lot of interesting stuff right now, in my mind. There's really, there's Lyra and Becky. That's good.
Seth,
legitimately
and his group. I like Seth and his group and what they're doing there with Sammy and stuff like that.
I'm looking at SmackDown staying 3 hours and going, you kidding me, right?
It's money. It's money. And I guess look at WWE has always been about making the most money. I just feel like they're throwing it in our face more than ever now. And it's just a bunch of things. And I think the R-Truth the R-Truth not re-signing is just really just a microcosm of all of it to me. It just feels like, you look at and again, I don't really care about a ring canvas, but you look at the ring canvas and there's sponsorships everywhere. Every single match on every PLE has a different sponsor. There's things like that.
That doesn't even bother me that much.
That bothers me the least, but it changes how I view and feel. I'm just like, nah, that's not what wrestling was ever really about. And then, the releases have always happened. I just feel like the R-Truth one to me is just such a slap in the face to the fans, really. Because I couldn't, even the top guys, I probably couldn't name 7 to 8 people on the roster who get bigger reactions or pops than R-Truth, even in his limited role. And he's just somebody who's universally adored by the fans, the wrestlers in your back, all that stuff. And I can't imagine he was making that much money that it was crippling your books, WWE. I can't imagine it. And I can't imagine that if you went to him and said, hey, we want to keep you here, but your number's too high. What can we work out? That he wouldn't have worked something out. And he might sign a Legends deal and it might not matter and all this stuff, but that's fine. It just feels like it's such a.
Somebody said this to me on Twitter when it happened, that I'm just like, come on, we gotta be real here. There very well could be at some point he signs a Legends deal, or they bring him back, or they make him a agent, coach, whatever. If they were gonna do that, they could have just did that.
Yeah.
They didn't have to go through the process. I don't know how many times I've seen somebody go on to social media and say, they're not renewing me, I've been released, just for the next day they sign a new contract, or they become a legend, or they become an agent.
Yeah.
They could have just said, okay, this is their business. It's not like they don't follow their own rules to begin with.
Mhm.
They don't. It's not like they have to go, all right, well, we have to now and tell him that he's being not renewed in 90 days, and then we'll sign him to a new contract the next day. That's not how that works. No one's ever done that before. They could have
Yeah.
just said, all right, Truth, we want to make you something else, give you a backstage role, sign you to a Legends contract or whatever. They could just do that.
Yeah.
They don't
I
have to
mean,
wait 90 days.
no. I mean, to me, this feels like this is only going to go one way, and it's going to go with R-Truth is going to be back at some point. I feel like the negativity surrounding this feels like to me that they're going to be like, all right, like at some point.
But I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what I'm not a UFC person, so I don't know.
They did similar things, and I'm not a UFC guy either, but apparently when because TKO, I think, started as a talent agency for UFC. Like, they weren't like this big. They started as a talent agency for UFC, and then they just kind of grew to the point where they were able to purchase UFC or something, or Dana White made a deal, however that went down. I'm not a big UFC guy, but apparently similar things happened where they got rid of Chuck Liddell almost immediately, and he was considered like the top guy, or at least from the fan base, like a fan favorite, overwhelming fan favorite. They got rid of him immediately. They got rid of a bunch of Francis Ngannou. They got rid of, who was like one of the best fighters in the world. Like, so they've done similar things. I'm not going to speak on UFC in depth because I don't pay attention to it that much in depth. But from what I've read and heard, they did similar things when they took over UFC. And now they've taken over WWE, and in the span of a couple years, we've seen them turn it into really this money factory where they're charging more money than ever. They're breaking gates. They tell us every friggin' week that it's the largest gate, the largest gate in the history of this city.
They haven't made the biggest gate in the world.
Yeah, like the largest gate in the history of this city. We did this, blah blah blah. They took WrestleMania out of New Orleans because
what the worst part is about that? When
they weren't getting enough ticket sales in the first couple weeks, so they said, "Screw you, we're going somewhere else." It's like, bro, it's fucking almost a year before the show. Like, relax.
How? I mean, it's.
And then the counter programming stuff on top of it, you can lump into this with me because that affects how I part of how I And again, the product, the shows, I still enjoy. I'm going to watch Money on the Bank on Saturday. I think it's going to be a really good show. We're going to talk about it in a little bit. I think it's going to be a really good show. On Raw on Monday, I enjoyed 75 to 80% of what we saw on Raw. The product is still leaps and bounds better than it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. These are not mutually unexclusive. You can enjoy the product more than you have in the last handful of years, but also look at it and be like, man, this is going in a way that it just feels like it's not the same to me. And the counter programming is part of it because they don't have to be doing this. They don't have to be counter programming. And we're running into it in July for All In. We already talked about that before, and it's been talked about ad nauseum everywhere. But we have an NXT PLE starting at the exact same time as All In, which is just a disservice to wrestling fans. It's a disservice to me, and it's a disservice to the NXT boys and girls who work their ass off, who deserve the spotlight and their time where there's nobody. Because if you're a wrestling fan who enjoys both, like we do, you're prioritizing All In over NXT. You are. That is what All In is their WrestleMania. It's their number one show, AEW. You are prioritizing that over NXT. And to me, that does a major disservice to your NXT boys and girls on the roster because they deserve that spotlight because they work their asses off and they've consistently had the best show in your company for like a year and a half. And now for 2 pay-per-views in a row for them, where it's their time to shine, where they have the spotlight, you're putting up against the 2 biggest shows and you don't have to do that. What's the reason of doing that besides being a petty asshole? Because there's no reason to do it. And then it's happening again in August. It's going to happen again during whatever show that they're doing. They're going to do a Saturday night's main. It's happening again.
Forbidden Door.
Yeah, Forbidden Door. So is this going to be the norm now that WWE is not posting their dates for their pay-per-views because they're going to look at what AEW is running and then do it the same? Like, it just feels like it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
You should never punch down. You should never punch down. And WWE is punching down. And they're doing things that are petty, they're unnecessary, and it just speaks to just the general vibe of the mentality of what they're doing right now. And to me, it just feels like it's a bad look, Sandy. I agree. It's a bad look, and it feels worse. And it feels worse. And like that, you know, and again, we're talking about R-Truth, a guy that probably had a 3 to 5 minute segment weekly on Raw. All right. We're not talking about a guy that was fighting for world titles. Yeah. We're not talking about a guy that's fighting for world titles, but I think it speaks to more than just that. I think it speaks to kind of the heart that is, I don't even know if it's still there anymore. The heart with the company.
The only thing that they care about are the big internet celebrities and all the cool people that they can show.
We can make room for 2 separate segments with Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura, who, again, as a comedian, I find Tom Segura funny, or at least I did. I haven't seen much of his stuff lately. I found him funny back, when he was first starting up. But you can go on the interwebs. Our Jimmy Van, who I respect a lot, posted about it the day after he was on there. You can go find a clip of Tom Segura really making fun of pro wrestling and making fun of pro wrestling fans. And I'm not just saying like the typical ragging. I'm talking using words that nobody should say and things like that. But yet WWE had no fucking problem putting that guy who literally said people who liked wrestling were embarrassments to society, and used, like I said, derogatory terms that no one should ever say when regarding pro wrestling, pro wrestlers, and pro wrestling fans. But you had no problem, getting him for 10 minutes on fucking Raw, but you can't have time to keep R-Truth. Somebody who like actually makes the fans happy and laugh and like have a good time whenever he comes out. We know it's going to be fun and we actually enjoy that part of the show. No, you can't keep him, but bring on Tony Hinchcliffe for a fucking month straight when he's, saying the things that he says. And these, it's just, it's not great. It doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't.
The interesting thing, and I don't know what Karrion Kross's fate is really going to be in this company.
There was a report yesterday that said they haven't even reached out, like they haven't even started discussions on a contract extension yet.
He made a tweet with a video a couple of days ago. I don't know how the hell he's allowed to even say half of the things that he says, because this company is, even though somebody with an awful, disgusting ego in Vince McMahon is not running it anymore, there's still somebody running it that's got a massive ego, and you can see it very clearly.
Oh, 100%.
But he made this really interesting point the other day about how this era of WWE right now is like the internet celebrity era, where they're using people who have gotten fame outside of WWE thanks to Twitch, thanks to YouTube. That is weird, because just a few years ago, when people in WWE wanted to branch out and stream, and when the Logan Pauls in their prime were, the 2017, 2016, when they wanted to get on Twitch and they wanted to do their own thing, the company would either refuse to allow their performers to do so, or micromanage it to such an extent that it didn't even make sense for them to do it.
Well, but now you weren't making money on your own. If you were making money, that some of that was going to WWE.
Right. But now it's like, oh, Logan Paul, Kai Cenat, iShow Speed, KSI, Tony Hinchcliffe, Tom Segura, everybody with the fame and the fortune who can bring a couple of people in. Oh, we love you. We're showing you on camera. We're gonna make you a superstar. We're gonna show you in a match. We're gonna have you do this. We're gonna have you do that. What about when your own performers wanted to do that stuff years ago?
Yeah.
It
Again,
wasn't good
different
enough for
regime,
them.
different regime. We have to preface that it was a different regime, but I have a feeling it would be pretty similar. It would be, hey, you can go do that if you want, but we're getting a certain percentage of it. So, you know,
At the end of the day, it's always about what makes WWE look good.
yeah.
And it's again, I don't know how the hell Karrion Kross is able to say the things that he says
Because he knows he doesn't have a contract and he doesn't give a shit.
well, I mean, he still is a part of WWE.
Yeah. And look, I think he's saying it respectfully. And I think, what you kind of inclined to is he was like, everybody, we reach out to these people to try to get clicks and try to get eyeballs. He goes, well, we have guys and girls on our roster who have been doing professional wrestling for their whole lives who can also get that kind of attention if you just gave them the opportunity to get that kind of attention. And I think he's really referring to himself strongly in that as well, because look at what he has done basically by himself. If you look at Karrion Kross in this last 8 to 12 months, when he's kind of gotten over and kind of gotten this buzz about himself, WWE weren't the people that got him that buzz. It's not like they all of a sudden were putting him on TV like really he, with his social media and the stuff he was saying and the vignettes he was cutting on his own, then with him maximizing his minutes when he did get screen time, that's what kind of got him to the point that he's at now. It wasn't that all of a sudden WWE was just kind of like, all right, yeah, we're going to they haven't pushed Karrion Kross still yet.
I think he's been on TV maybe 3 times since WrestleMania.
Yeah. So they're still not pushing the guy, but every time he's on TV, guess what? He gets a good reaction. He gets a good pop because the people respect the work he's putting in and the work he's doing to get over regardless. That's probably not the word. There's a better word for that. But he's getting over himself even with the lack of push that he's receiving from WWE. So I don't know. I'm just feeling, again, the product itself, I'm not 100% against. Obviously, there's things that I wish were better. The John Cena matches we're getting, I wish were better and things like that. But for the most part, I still very much enjoy the WWE product. I am excited for Money in the Bank this weekend, which we're going to talk about now. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be good. Yeah, Karrion Kross does have the #1 merchandise sales in the company, or he's up there, I am excited for it. I just feel like the more that these things are happening and the more they come out, I just feel like WWE has always been a business to me, but it feels like it's more business than fun nowadays. And I feel like it's I don't know. There's just a part of it that is either gone or it should. Yeah, it's disheartening. It's disheartening. And again, it speaks to a greater thing. The R-Truth is really the microcosm of it for me. But it speaks to a greater thing of a lot of things that are happening. And a lot of things that are happening are not things that I particularly feel great about or think that they need to be happening at all, because they just don't.
It's a certain month this month. Usually they would say something about it. Usually they'd put something out. They didn't do it on a certain month in February, for Black History Month. I know they're not going to do it for Pride Month either.
Well, I think that's a greater discussion, because have you noticed that no major companies are really coming out and doing that this month? I wonder why. It's almost like the leader of the country maybe has something to do with that. Who would have thought? And I know, and again, you can speak better to it than me because you are a member of that community, but I know a lot of members of the community that I at least know, they weren't so high on businesses and those people doing Pride
No,
Month
I
shit
mean,
anyway, because they felt it
I'm
was just an
not like,
exploitation for money.
I'm not like, oh, you can't do it. It is weird when it's just for a month, but that didn't really bother me that much. But I outgrew the shirt, so I don't have it anymore. But I did have the Finn Balor
Oh
shirt
yeah.
that had the rainbow on it, and
Mhm.
I did love that shirt very much. Unfortunately, I had to get rid of it because bought it when I was a little smaller.
There you go.
So got to work on that. But
Listen.
it
Just go buy an Effie Wrestling is Gay shirt. That's all. That's all you need to do.
yeah, it's just it's very disheartening that this company has in the past, been more inclusive and been more even, and I mean, this is, listen, I'm not saying that nobody should ever say that they want Vince back.
No.
It's very strange that that stuff was happening while Vince was in charge.
Right? It's very, then that's what I said. Like, this company was run by one of the most soulless and heartless individuals probably of all time. But yet when he was the one that was running it, it felt like it had more heart and soul in the product.
Yeah.
It does not
Very
make sense to
strange.
me. It does not
Very
make sense to
strange.
me at all. It does not. It's crazy.
But that's not me saying I want him back.
No, of course not. Of course not. But it is weird how it feels that way. When Vince was in charge, every February, every week on Raw or SmackDown, there was a black. And again, I am not the right type of person to speak on how this, but there was a Black History Month acknowledgement. There was Pride Month acknowledgements. There was other holiday or other people's acknowledgements. And since he left and TKO took over, they're just like, nah. It's very bizarre. It's very bizarre. I don't get it. But all right. Let's dive into it. Saturday night, Los Angeles, California. Money in the Bank. As of right now, we have 4 matches on the card. I don't know if a 5th will be added on SmackDown tomorrow. Very potent. It could happen. I feel like most of these kind of, even though Money in the Bank's not really a B-level pay-per-view, I feel like these type of pay-per-views usually stick to the 5-match kind of card. But right now we have 4. I expect 3 of these matches to go at least 45 minutes to an hour, I would think. Especially, the 2 ladder matches, and that tag match is going to be full of a bunch of drama and nonsense and things of that nature.
Of course.
Earlier in the day, we're not going to dive into it, but earlier in the day at 3 p.m., they are doing the Worlds Collide show, which is the WWE and AAA, even though WWE owns AAA now, but they're doing that from Los Angeles as well. Earlier in the day, there are some people pulling double duty. And one of them is Stephanie Vaquer. We'll get into her.
There's only one person pulling double duty.
That is true. Is that the only one? I thought there was somebody else. And it's not who you think, because I see that smirk. I thought there was somebody else besides people who think that person is pulling double duty.
I don't pay attention, so I don't know.
Yeah. But that Worlds Collide show, it looks like it's going to have a good card there. Chad Gable and Vikingo should be very good. So that is something that I will be watching, but most likely not live. I'll be watching that most likely after Money in the Bank, but that is happening earlier in the day. But Money in the Bank is Saturday night, Los Angeles, California. And we are going to start with the match that I could not give 2 shits about. This match right here. I literally could care less about any, and that's unfortunate because I've really liked 3 of the guys in this match. But I could really care less about any of them. Oh God! Did your computer do something? Is your computer being weird again?
I don't know. What happened?
I put the graphic up.
Oh.
It's an overlay.
Oh, wait.
So we're off screen, but we can talk over it until we come back on screen and talk about it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, of course. What are you doing?
Okay.
Have you never been on this show before?
I just noticed something. Okay. That's why we're not showing. So
I did that on purpose, Drew. I knew that was going to happen.
No, I know, but did you also see that I also put?
Oh no, I don't like those because that comes from behind us and it looks stupid.
Well, no, but we don't have to do that. We could do this.
No. Yeah,
Where's
but
the
no.
thing?
Yeah, but you see how much more complicated this is right now that we're going through right now?
I literally just,
As
there we
opposed,
go.
yeah, but still, now we're blocking 2 of the faces. It just looks better if we do this.
Fine.
You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to talk about that match. I want to talk about this match because who gives a shit about this match? Does anybody actually give a shit about this match? I need to know. Do you?
I'm gonna say probably not.
Do you care about this match at all?
Well, if we bring back the other layout, so I can at least
Oh, see, now we're like this.
I can block Logan Paul's face. That would be wonderful. Can we do that? Can I block
No,
Logan
I
Paul's
don't like
face?
it like this, Drew.
There we go. No,
Cut it
that was
out.
perfect.
No,
that
it
was
wasn't.
perfect.
I don't like it when it's like that. I prefer
Bring it back.
the other way. No,
Bring it back.
We are not going to bring it back.
I want to block Logan Paul's face.
Yeah,
but,
and I don't care. We've talked about that aplenty.
So, yeah, who gives a shit?
I would think that the only thing that potentially could be interesting about this is if this main events the show, I could see a cash-in tease. Because both world champions are in this match. And if it main events, which means that the men's Money in the Bank would happen earlier in the evening, I could see a potential cash-in tease or even a cash-in, which I think could be interesting. Other than that, though, look, I'm happy Cody's back. Jey Uso's fine. I think Jey Uso should lose the title on Monday to Gunther, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't dislike John Cena. We all know how I feel about Logan Paul as a person. Again, to me, I don't really care that much about this match at all. However, with that being said, I do believe that Cody's going to get the win. I think Cody's going to pin Logan Paul. And I think that that's how this is going to go. And I think Cody's going to get, it's not really his win back from WrestleMania, but I think Cody in his first match back, him and Jay are going to win. And I think that's how that's going to go. But I'm not, for as much as I love Cody and I'm a Cody guy, I don't really feel great. About this match. I expect it to be long. I expect it to be drama, and
They killed this feud at WrestleMania, so I don't really care about Cody and John Cena anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about Logan Paul. The only person that I actually truly do care about is Jey Uso.
Oh, I mean, come on, Cody, dude.
I don't want Cody involved with John Cena
anymore. Well, he's got to try to get his title back.
Not this. Well, oh yeah, I see. He's trying to get his title back.
But you would think you would get he would be going for his title again.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for him to be going for it. I don't like that he is because I don't want them to be feuding anymore. But it's going to be what it is, and another John Cena match will be Cody Rhodes again, and we'll see what happens there. Mm-hmm. And yeah, but I would rather have seen, since it's Money in the Bank, would have been nice if it was Punk. But I'm sure we'll get that down the road.
I think that's SummerSlam. I would guess that would be Cena's SummerSlam match. Would be.
We know he's not in Money in the Bank now, so he's not going to be cashing in on Cena.
Which is fine because of all those people, CM Punk does not need Money in the Bank at all.
Definitely
does not need it. Yeah. I was going to say Scott, Chad Gable is not in the Money in the Bank match. So I don't really know where that came from.
If they if
they did that, that would be a horrendous decision.
That would be
like on the same level of awful. Austin Theory going after the U.S. title to me. No offense. And I would say for your second comment, Scott, let's relax a bit, huh? It's okay to look at things lightheartedly sometimes. Let's relax. But I don't really. And there was rumors that this was supposed to potentially be Cena teaming up with Travis Scott. He was training, and then that didn't happen potentially. I don't think that's been confirmed, but there are rumors of that. They said that it might have been Cody and Bad Bunny was an early talk type thing that they were going to do here. I don't know. I don't like. Does John Cena teaming up with someone like Logan Paul make sense? Yeah. I think that makes sense with the current character. But again, like, there's no stakes in this match. There are 4 world titles in WWE, Drew. 2 men's world titles and 2 women's world titles, and not one of them is being defended on this show. Not a one.
One of them hasn't been legitimately defended since. Well, actually, 2 of them haven't legitimately been defended since WrestleMania, and that's both the women's.
Yeah, like what are they doing right now? You're telling me you can't find a room for Io Sky and Tiffany Stratton or one of them to defend their title on this show? Are you kidding me?
But both Money in the Bank winners are pulling double duty on Saturday. Very strange.
Potential. Very strange. Yeah, it's very odd. It's very odd. I just don't understand. Like, you have Io Sky and Tiffany Stratton just walking around backstage every week. That's all they're doing. They're just walking around backstage with a different Money in the Bank participant talking shit. And it's like, okay, well, how about they just wrestle? How about they just wrestle? Like, Io Sky can't have a one-on-one with anybody for the world title? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. But in this match, I'm picking Cody. I think Cody, first match back, is going to get the win. He's not going to pin Cena, obviously. I could see, because Jay's defending the title a couple nights later, I could see them giving the pin to Jay to make him look strong. Kind of going into the world title match with Gunther the next couple nights. I could see that if he pins Logan again. I don't see John Cena getting pinned. Yeah, and I don't see Cody or Jay. They're not going to pin Jay unless Gunther gets involved. They're not going to pin Jay 2 days before he's defending the world title against Gunther. They're not going to pin Cody in his first match back. And I don't think they're going to pin John Cena. So who does that leave,
Right. It leaves
that tells me that either Cody or Jay is going to pin Logan. Right?
Yeah. I actually think I'm going to go with your gut thought there of Jay pins Logan.
To make him look good for the Gunther match a couple nights. Yeah. I could see that happen. I could see that happening for sure. All right. Drew, just so you know, we're going to be off screen here. But we can talk. We can talk about it.
I like the way I did it when, I was.
We can talk about it. It just requires us to hit more buttons. That's all. Just requires us to hit more buttons.
Well, you just stay in that one mode and then just keep changing the background. You don't have to change any buttons.
Yeah, I get it. I get what you're trying to do. But again, like, just watch. Just watch how this goes. You ready? Well, I hit the button and it didn't work. So, but if you do this, like, look at poor Lyra. Just look at her. She doesn't deserve that. She deserves her whole face to be seen, especially the way she's going lately.
Just put the overlay.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong, though?
It's all right.
I actually want to talk about this match first. The men's Money in the Bank. And the reason why is because, like we said a few minutes ago, if that tag match does end up main eventing, do we see one of these individuals potentially tease a cash-in on either one?
Well, there's definitely going to be. There will be a tease regardless of who wins.
Yeah. So we have the men's Money in the Bank. It is Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, Penta, Andrade, El Grande Americano, who qualified. He was the last one to qualify this past Monday on Raw, and Seth freaking Rollins.
In my eyes, there's only 2 winners here.
I agree. I think we're going to have the same 2, so I will let you go, and I will tell you if I think differently, but I'm pretty sure we have the same 2.
Yeah, and it ain't the one that Sandy just said.
Oh, I did not see it. I did not see it. El Grande Americano?
No, it's LA Knight.
And
it ain't going to be LA Knight.
Okay.
Okay. either going to be Solo Sikoa or Seth Rollins.
Really? I don't think so. Solo is way down on my power rankings. He's like the 5th person I would think of the 6.
Who do you think?
I think it's either Seth or LA Knight, and I think Grande Americano has a legitimate chance.
That is ridiculous.
Okay.
It should not happen.
Okay. But I think Grande, those would be my top 3. I think anybody not having Seth Rollins as the number 1 person in the power
is El Grande Americano going to cash in on and be successful? Because if it's going to be, well, maybe Jay, but just
that would be
no.
Listen, but here's my thing. I think if you're going like a power rankings type thing, I think anybody is foolish for not putting Seth number 1. He's clearly the biggest guy in the match.
He's going to win.
He's got the biggest story in the match. He's the guy in the match that doesn't need it, though, at all. He's of all of them, he's the one who needs it the least.
Yeah, but he's the one that makes the most sense winning.
Well, that's why I have LA Knight number 2, because I think LA Knight holding that briefcase makes sense.
I don't think so.
I think I'm going to pick Seth because, like I said, I think it would be foolish to not pick Seth. But if I had to bet on anybody besides Seth, I would be betting on LA Knight.
Let me look at the field again. Let's really quickly throw them back up.
Throw them back up? Can do. It's LA Knight, Solo, Seth,
all right,
Grande Americano, Andrade, and I mean, I could see Penta winning too.
If I have to rank 1 to 6, Seth 1, Solo 2, Penta 3.
Very high on Solo.
Penta 3. 4 would be bottom right would be 4. 5 would be LA Knight. 6 would be Andrade.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I would go Seth, LA Knight, El Grande Americano, Penta, Solo, Andrade. That would be my Solo having the money in the bank. That does nothing with any type of story you're telling with Solo at all. The Solo story you're telling right now is Jacob Fatu.
Right.
Why would he need the briefcase to go after the United States Championship? I know Austin Theory did it a few years ago, but why would he need that briefcase at all?
Well, it may be that it's not that he may even go after the United States Championship, but he may enlist the United States Champion to help him cash it in on somebody else, which then the United States Champion would be upset about that. Has been upset about every Solo decision as of late.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think Solo is way lower on the totem pole than you have him. But that's what these matches are good for. So I happen to think, like I said, if I am a betting man, if I was forced to bet on this, I would put my money on Seth because I feel like that's the safest bet. However, though, if I'm not picking Seth, I think LA Knight is the one that is walking away with this briefcase.
He's still LA Knight
because he's still over as hell. He's been flirting with the main event scene for 2 years, but
the company cares about that. We've seen that.
I think they care about people that make them a lot of money. And LA Knight right now is somebody who makes them a good amount of money.
Does he?
Yeah, sells a lot of merch. One of the more over guys. Yeah, he makes them a lot of money. He makes them more money than the unfortunate guys that were let go, for sure. I do expect that we see Seth's cronies in this match. I do think that'll get involved. I do think we're going to see CM Punk in this match, which is part of the reason why, even though I think Seth is the surest bet because he has to be, I don't really think he's going to win. Because I think there are other, Sammy will get, I think there are other factors at play that could take Seth out. And then if Seth gets taken out, I think it's Penta, Grande Americano, or LA Knight. I think it's one form of those three. I have Solo and Andrade, they're a little further around. Yeah, Roman is still floating around. We haven't seen him in a while. To me, Seth Rollins is the guy that eventually is going to take that title.
Roman,
we're not going to see Roman. I don't think we're going to see Roman.
We're not going to see Roman. And when the next time we see Roman, it's got to be Seth that he's going after. So.
100%.
Not Solo.
100%. Which would make me think that we don't see Roman until Seth is already champ. Because I would think that if you're going into SummerSlam, I would think the matches would be Seth and Jay for the Raw title, and then I would do Punk and Cena. Those would be my 2 world title matches at SummerSlam. Personally. But again, we'll see. Yeah, they got Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed with Seth now. Who knows? They could add another person to help Seth here if they want to keep growing this thing. Who knows what could happen?
Yeah.
But I do expect a lot of shenanigans. I do expect to see Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. I do expect to potentially see Sami Zayn and CM Punk potentially in this match. I think there's going to be a lot of nonsense. But yeah, I mean, I look at that field and I say it's Seth. To me, it's Seth Rollins or LA Knight. Those are the 2 to me. And I know you have Solo in that. I think we feel about how I feel about Solo is the same way you feel about LA Knight. That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense to me at all. But
all right,
we'll see. I'm going to be honest,
and
I was talking about it. I'm going to be honest, maybe with the exception of Andrade, which I even think there's a case there because Andrade is the type of guy in this match that the Money in the Bank briefcase is actually like made for. It's made for that mid-card guy that you want to elevate to the top of the Raw. You know what I mean? That's what the Money in the Bank originally was for. When CM Punk won those first ones, he wasn't a top of the card main eventer. He was a mid-card guy who was then elevated to that. Dolph Ziggler. That Andrade is the type of wrestler that this is built for. You know what I mean? The rest of these guys have been in the main event. Penta as well, I would say. But like Seth Rollins is a multi-time world champion. LA Knight has fought for world championships. Solo Sikoa has fought for world championships. Andrade is a mid-card guy. So to me, he really exemplifies everything that this briefcase and this type of match is for. But I feel like he's the main one.
Well, the funny thing is that we both had him 6th.
Yeah, and I think that's proper. But I think if you had, I think I could be not persuaded, but I could hear a conversation about any of these guys winning, and I would entertain it. I'd be like, yeah, okay, literally. And I feel like it's even more that way with the women's side because the women that is a great 6 that the women have. But we'll get there. But again, listen, I'm going to be the safe guy, and I'm going to pick Seth because it's safe. But I really think LA Knight has a chance. So that's where I'm at. But I'm going to pick Seth because I like being right more than I like, picking a surprise. So I'm going to pick Seth.
Well, almost everybody was a main eventer in NXT. That's NXT.
Yeah.
You can be a main eventer in NXT, but the moment you come to the main roster, you're barely in the main event. So it's yeah, but I don't know. I can't make a case for every person in that match. I mean, the only way I see El Grande Americano winning is if he loses his cash-in. Because and
I mean, he could
if they do the thing. Whoever said that he'd cash in a Triple Mania or whatever. That, good lord. But
well, there is a report that Triple H does hate the Money in the Bank. So if he's trying to kill Money in the Bank, that would be a good way to do it.
Well, he did a very good job with that with Austin Theory.
Did he though? Because it's still one of the most popular fucking gimmicks they have.
It's not that popular anymore.
It's not as popular as it used to be. I do think they need to get rid of it as a pay-per-view after next year because they've already announced they're doing one next year because they fucked over New Orleans and they basically were like, but we'll give you Money in the Bank though. And Money in the Bank isn't happening until August next year as well. So it's completely in a different spot on the calendar as well. But I think after next year, after next year's Money in the Bank, they got to get rid of it as a pay-per-view. Asian Joe, what's going on, man? Hope you're well, brother.
I think
that's why Penta's in the match. He's definitely doing a destroyer off the ladder. Penta, is he not?
Oh no, Penta's gonna do some crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could make a case for Penta to win. I would say
that's what I'm saying.
Out of everyone, besides my top two, which is why I put Penta as third. I really do think Penta has an opportunity to. But his cash in wouldn't come until, because he's not cashing in on Jay and he's not cashing in on John Cena. So,
well, I think whoever wins the men's briefcase, I would put Cena out of possibility until he loses that belt. And I would think that the men's briefcase will be hanging around for a while. If anything, I could see an early cash in on the Jay Gunther side of things. I think someone is going to show up during that world title match. I don't think it's going to be the guy that has the Money in the Bank briefcase, though. I think it's going to be a guy who's approaching his last match.
Yeah,
is going to be showing up on Monday. Thank
you, Fernando.
Great. Whatever. Fine. But I could see, again, I don't think if LA Knight wins it, right? I don't think he's cashing in on Cena. So you'd have to wait until, but could I see, what if Gunther beats Jay and then LA Knight cashes in on Gunther right after the match? Not that Gunther deserves that, because he's a living legend and a god. But, I could see something like that happening. And then LA Knight is all of a sudden the new world champion on Raw, and you have Seth Rollins going after him. An easy baby face for Seth to beat. Again, or I could just see them holding.
First of all, you're tarnishing continuously. Not that they give a shit anymore about Money in the Bank. Tarnishing Money in the Bank by putting it on a guy for him to just lose it at SummerSlam, a month and a half later.
But they've done that all the time, though. Ziggler lost the title. Ziggler had one of the top 3 cash-ins of all time, and he lost the belt in 2 months. They do that shit all the time. CM Punk in his first cash-in literally had the belt taken away from him because they wanted it involved in the Shawn Michaels and Cena storyline, or whatever that. They literally just wrote him off television. So
I'm thinking I'm not thinking of Jay with the Money in the Bank person. I'm thinking of Seth with the Money in the Bank person, because Jay is losing at SummerSlam. So
I would agree. Yes.
And I don't think that it makes sense for somebody to cash in on Jay to just lose at SummerSlam. So I could see, Seth. I will say honestly, it probably isn't going to be Seth.
I don't think it should be. Even though he's the most, you look at that roster of those 6 and you're like, yeah, it's clear that Seth Rollins is the favorite of this, but I don't think he should win. He shouldn't. He does not need it. He should be able to get to that world title match against Jay or whoever at SummerSlam without a fucking briefcase. He is Seth Rollins. Rollins. Yes.
Punk he'll probably play a factor in that. So that will take him out. And then I really think Solo could be the winner, honestly, because
you're much higher on Solo than I am. I'm not saying I do disagree, but I understand. I just, like I said, I feel like you have Solo as that second guy, and I just think we have opposite opinions of LA Knight and Solo in this match. I think that's what it is. You have Solo 5th. You have Solo 2nd and LA Knight 5th. I have the exact opposite. So I just think we view the way that you view Solo is kind of how I'm feeling about LA Knight in this match. Is if it's not Seth, I think LA Knight is the easiest bet. He's going to get a reaction. The crowd's going to be excited for it. The crowd still loves him. He's over. Babyface. In general, I think the Money in the Bank briefcase works better on heels. I was talking about this the other day. I forget with who.
Yeah.
But in the history of the Money in the Bank, can you name any great baby faces that held the briefcase for a long time? Big E,
Biggie, yeah.
I can make an argument for, but that title reign after he won was dog shit. But the cash in and all that stuff was great. So Big E, but besides Big E,
Dolph Ziggler's cash in, even though
he
he
was
was
a
a heel
heel
at the
though.
time.
He was a heel.
He was a heel at the time, but it really kind of made him a baby.
Jeff Hardy, that's a good one. Jeff Hardy's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Edge. Was Edge a heel?
Edge was a bad guy. He was rated R superstar.
Okay, right.
When CM Punk won the first one, he was a good guy. But when he won the second one, he became a bad guy when he cashed in. Because he won back-to-back. But his first one, he was a good guy. But when you look at the history of Money in the Bank, RVD, but that was extenuated. That was brought up because that probably is the best one, but that was extenuating circumstances with the one night stand pay-per-view. Like I felt like there was different stuff going on, but RVD is, so you have RVD, Jeff Hardy, and Big E. Sheamus was a bad guy though.
Yeah.
Sheamus was a bad guy. Yeah, because he cashed in on Roman at SummerSlam. Roman won the title.
Was that the only time he won?
I think so, right? So Sheamus was a bad guy.
Money in the Bank like 20.
Yeah, he beat Sheamus for the title. He beat Roman for the title. Yeah, Roman won the title at SummerSlam, and then he kicked his head off and beat him for the title.
Well, I remember that. But
when Daniel Bryan won, Daniel Bryan was a heel, and Daniel Bryan cashed in on the Big Show as a heel. And then within months, the yes chant started getting popular, and that's what led. But he was a bad guy. Oh, Dean Ambrose was pretty good. Yep, Dean Ambrose was pretty good. That was a cool little thing where all three members of the Shield held the title that night.
Yeah.
Because they had Roman was the champ, and Seth had just come back, and Seth beats Roman in the main event for the title. And then Ambrose, who won the Money in the Bank earlier in the night, came. So all three members of the Shield held the title in the same night. Remember when they never had that triple threat? Great. Good stuff. Good stuff right there.
Hey, it could happen still one day.
In my opinion, and I think history has done the Shield even more justice, but in my opinion, I say this right now, and I don't care who comes at me. I think the Shield is the greatest faction in the history of the wrestling. History of pro wrestling. You can talk NWO, DX, Four Horsemen. Get it? I get it. They're all great. I think when you look at the Shield and you look at what those three individuals have done for the wrestling landscape since 2012 to where we are right now at 2025, I think that's the greatest group that has ever existed.
I mean, I can't fault you for saying that, honestly.
I think that's the greatest group that's ever existed. And again, I know I'm going to be wrong. People are going to say NWO or the Horsemen or even DX. Early DX, I would accept. That second half, Shawn Michaels and Triple H DX, get the hell out of here. Yeah, they did, but it should have been a WrestleMania. Come on. Yeah, when did that happen? Battleground. Yeah, that's right. No, that's not, The fact that this company never properly had the Shield triple threat and never properly had the Four Horsewomen fatal four-way is a crime. Is a crime against humanity.
Yeah. Well, in the lineage of Money in the Bank winners,
most of them are heels.
Always worked for heels either.
Well, no, of course not. Of course not. Baron Corbin, Damian Sandow.
Yeah.
Obviously, Austin Theory. There have been some brutal. But if you look at the baby faces, John Cena cashed. He said he was cashing in preemptively, challenged Punk at SummerSlam and lost. No, he challenged Punk at Raw 1000 and lost. Braun Strowman preemptively cashed in and he lost to someone. Brock? Did he lose to Brock? Who did he lose
to? He lost to...
He preemptively cashed in Braun Strowman.
Who was it that... I don't remember. Maybe it was Seth?
Maybe. But Braun Strowman preemptively cashed in and lost. And then few and far between good baby faces that have held. And again, we have a far greater amount when it comes to the men than the women. Was Bray Wyatt had the briefcase? Bray Wyatt was never a Money in the Bank guy, was he?
No, he never had.
He won the Elimination Chamber. Yeah, he won the Elimination Chamber, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I think, and on the women's side, there has never been a failed cash-in. They are
But
batting 1,000
they had that graphic up, on Raw,
on Raw.
and
Do you
that
think
made
they
me
did
go,
that on purpose? You think they did that on purpose?
I think,
Maybe foreshadowing that this might be the year. Maybe. I hope
Well,
not.
speaking
Well, no.
of,
I want to talk about the IC title match because I want to end on the women's, because I would love
Oh.
for the women's Money in the Bank to main event. It will not, but I would love it. But before we get to the women's Money in the Bank, because I really think that has potential to be a match of the year type candidate with the 6 women that mix and match of those 6 women, incredible. But before we get there, let's talk about this one, because this has been my favorite thing on Raw for over a month now, and it is these two studs. Lyra Valkyria defending her IC title against Becky Lynch. Drew, these two have, for like 4 weeks straight, have been cutting promos on each other on Raw, and every single week it's been incredible. It's been incredible. I'm glad, and I know we talked about it, but I'm glad that after 6 or 7 months, somebody somewhere was like, hey, do you want to give Lyra a microphone? And see how now, again, it definitely helps that it's Becky Lynch that she is doing this with. It might not hit the same if it wasn't someone of the caliber of Becky Lynch. But at the same time, these two girls have been killing it. Killing it. And they had a great match at Backlash, one that I thought Becky was going to win. But she didn't, and Lyra retained. However, Drew, Becky's winning this one.
Yeah.
She's leaving with the IC title. Fernando says that he thinks Bayley interfered. I want to throw something at you, Drew. So Fernando, and I think this is a very logical way to be thinking, that Bayley interferes and costs Becky the match and Lyra goes up 3-0. Now, that is a very logical way of thinking. Let me throw something, Andrew. How would you feel if Bayley come back and aligned with Becky, and then Lyra had to go through both of them to kind of build Lyra up even more to getting the IC title back?
You've talked about this before.
I have.
Why?
Because I think Bayley hasn't been on TV since before WrestleMania. She was a babyface. She had that big moment at WrestleMania last year, but then she was just kind of dwindling, not doing much. I feel like Bayley turning heel and aligning with someone that we've really never seen her align with, but someone who is so integral to her history, I think it makes sense. They're part of the 4 Horsewomen. They can say that even though they've had their differences, they've been friends for a very long time. And I think kind of Lyra having to go through Bayley and Becky, much like Bayley had to go through Becky, Sasha, Charlotte when she was in NXT to get her to that. I think that you can do that. Because I was kind of thinking Becky wins the IC title, Bayley comes back, she feuds with Becky for the IC title, Becky still keeps the belt, and then Lyra wins the title back, and it puts Lyra more over, it elevates the title, it does a bunch of these good things, which I think if that happens, knock it out of the park, it's going to be great. But I think there's a way to even get Lyra more over by having her have to go up against these two who are now aligned, like 2 of the greatest of all time. And I could see that being a very fun thing if they did it. Not saying that I think it's going to happen, but I just wanted to throw it out there. Because I think everybody's thinking like Fernando, which again is very logical, that Bayley would come back, because we know Becky admitted that she attacked Bayley. That Bayley comes back, gets her revenge on Becky for attacking her and taking her out of the Mania match. And then we get a feud with Bayley and Becky for the summer for the IC title. I'm all in on that. I think that elevates the IC title to new heights.
Sucks for Lyra Valkyria.
But not really, though, because I do think at the end of the day, Lyra is the one who goes over on Becky to win it back, and that gets her to another level of superstar. So I think it doesn't. She got that first win over Becky to cement that she's legit. And then she's been having Dynamite promo segments with Becky for a month now. If she does lose, but then wins it back at a SummerSlam or in the fall from Becky, I think Lyra could actually get more over that way.
I mean, yeah, it's. I don't know. I don't feel like aligning with the person that took you out of a WrestleMania match makes sense.
I mean, does Bronson Reed aligning with Seth Rollins make sense?
Yeah, but that was like almost a year later.
I
not
agree, but he tried
a
to
month
murder
later.
him. He tried to murder him. And again, I love the Bronson Reed pairing with them. Like, I'm not anti that, but I'm saying, does that logically? Oh my God, Bret Hart's here. Wow.
Hi, Brett.
Holy
Nice
shit.
to see you.
If I love you. Anyway.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, sure, I guess. Make it interesting and I'll be fine with it.
I mean, either way, I think we're all in agreement that Becky is leaving with the IC title this time. She's not losing again to Lyra.
Oh, no. She is not losing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could see her beating her and then she's beating up Lyra after the match and Bayley comes back. I think Bayley showing up on Raw. So let's say Becky wins and on Raw, she's cutting a promo talking about how she's the best. And Bayley shows up then and says, yeah, you took me out. Now you're here. Let's go for the title. And then we build to that. I could see that happening, but I think it could be, Bayley comes out. Everyone's just assuming she's going to go after Becky and she just fucking wails Lyra. And it's like, oh, what the hell? And then Lyra has to crawl from underneath and go through go through Bayley to get to Becky, to get the belt back. And you build that story of Lyra being the underdog now that the fans are behind her. Oh, I think you can build her
something here. I'm going to throw out something else. I'm going to add in something to this that I actually would be interested in.
Okay.
Bayley does return.
Yeah.
Does turn on Lyra. Helps Becky win. What if the other heel horsewoman also aligned with them and all three of them were heels for the first time?
I wouldn't hate it. Wait, what? Not for the first time. You mean together? Charlotte's been a heel
as heels. Together as heels for the first time.
It feels like they have other plans for Charlotte. She's doing like the Alexa Bliss stuff that they're doing. They're kind of teasing Alexa Bliss kind of wanting to. Remember that? A couple weeks in a row, they were just like, hey, Charlotte. Alexa Bliss showed up and was like, hey, Charlotte. I would love it. I would love it. If you have, they just called up all these NXT girls. Jordan Grace apparently is not far down the road here. They just called up all these NXT girls, and you have three, obviously the only three horsewomen that are still in WWE. They form a heel alliance saying, no, kind of like gatekeepers. No. We've been running this place for the last 10 years. You young people, they're not, you know what I mean. You new people aren't coming up here and taking over this shit. And you have Charlotte, Bayley, and Becky as like the gatekeepers. Like, nah, this is still our fucking, we still run this shit. And then you have Lyra, Stephanie, Julia, Roxanne. You have all these.
Oh, Julia's a heel also.
Yeah, so isn't Roxanne. But, Jordan Grace is coming up. Stephanie's up. You could do that. That would be fun.
Jordan Grace, Stephanie, and Lyra, Becky, Bayley, Charlotte.
Yeah.
That could be really fun.
It could. I would be okay with that. I would be more than okay with that. I don't know. I just love a good heel turn. That's all. I love Bayley. Bayley's my goat. She's my number one of the four horsewomen. I love Bayley. So, like, if you're telling me that Bayley's coming back as a babyface and we're getting Bayley and Becky all summer for the IC title, sign me the fuck up, Drew. Sign me the fuck up. But at the same time, if you're also telling me there's a chance that they could align together and be like an evil duo, oh, please. That'd be fun.
Look at me saying I would be interested in something Charlotte Flair did. I'd like some acknowledgement.
I am somewhat, and we can talk about it because one of these people is in the match we're going to be talking about last. I'm intrigued by the Alexa Bliss and Charlotte thing. I'm intrigued. And so let's transfer over to, again, I think that this match might open the show. I think this match will be the best match on the show because these six women, this pairing here of these six, this is really good. It is Naomi, Alexa Bliss, Rhea Ripley, Roxanne Perez, Julia, and then the freshly called up. She was just officially called up on Raw on Monday, and she won her Money in the Bank qualifying match on her first night. And she, Stephanie Vaquer, is also the 6th person in this Money in the Bank women's ladder match. I really like these 6. I feel about Rhea the same way I feel about Seth. Is she does not need it. Yeah. She does not need it. Of all the 6, she does not need it. Sandy, I disagree with you. I think Alexa Bliss having the briefcase when she's trying to, I think she's slowly turning to the Wyatt 6 dark side. We're starting to see some of the, the flickers on the screen and the QR codes, and the Wyatt 6 is officially back now. Alexa holding that briefcase while kind of going to the dark side and aligning herself with the Wyatt 6 is something I could get behind. But I think for me, it's a 2-horse race, Drew, and they're mentioning it in the chat. I think it's Naomi or Roxanne Perez. Those are the 2. Now, I think that's doing a disservice to Stephanie because Stephanie is so over. By the time she did that back-to-back stint after WrestleMania, that second Raw, her pop was insane. And I think that's part of the reason why they just said, get the belt off her. She's coming up. We're not waiting around. We're not waiting. We're just doing it.
Yeah.
Could she win? Could they hot shot it to the whole point where Stephanie, they just go, you know what? We don't give a shit that you showed up this week. You debuted you officially debuted as a Raw superstar on Monday. You won the Money in the Bank qualifier. You're winning the briefcase. Is that something they could do? I mean, obviously they can do it, but is that something you think they would do?
I mean, yeah. Then again, remember, I don't when we talk about Money in the Bank, I don't think of the current champion. I think of what's coming up in that championship. So like, I don't really know what is like Tiffany's.
They're both doing nothing. Right now. They're both doing nothing.
They're really both doing nothing. So it's hard.
Although Alexa Bliss has been kind of messing with Tiffany in the back as well. So again, Alexa Bliss has been like getting her fingers in a bunch of stuff. She's messing with Charlotte. She's been messing with Tiffany. She's just kind of, it feels like she's trying to pull some strings in the back here with things. And I'm intrigued by it. I do think Alexa Bliss is the dark horse here. I do.
I mean, I think it does kind of, I would say more it's either Naomi or Alexa more than Naomi.
That's fair. I think Naomi is my favorite. If I had to pick somebody, I would be picking Naomi to win with the character work, where she's at.
But then there's like, there's Jade interfere.
Well, here's the thing though, right? Naomi wins that briefcase. Naomi becomes the world champion down the line. You have built-in matches with Jade. You have built-in matches with Bianca. You have built-in triple threats. Everything is right there for you. Everything is right there for you. It's very easy. And the character work and all the work that Naomi has put into this, I feel like it's her time. However,
I do agree. I mean, because she was champion once, but then had to relinquish it. In the same era where Brock could hold it for 3 months without being on television. But she had to relinquish it. And all the women's champions have been successful.
Mm-hmm.
I would see her being no different unless Jade cost her
very possible
her cash in. But I wouldn't. I think that the thing that would make most sense is that she won, so that this way it could be, like you said, either with the Jade and Naomi, Bianca, Naomi, or a triple threat between the 3 of them.
Yeah.
I think that would actually be a very good idea.
100%.
So I think Naomi makes the most sense. I'm picking her.
And that's where I'm going. Naomi is the favorite for me as well. And I'll be picking Naomi as well.
And also Naomi briefcase with the caution tape. That would look pretty cool.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. The only person that I feel like isn't going to win this match is Julia, because Julia has been doing vignettes the last couple of weeks saying she's going after the U.S. title over on SmackDown. So I don't know why you would be doing that type of stuff only to then give her the briefcase. That doesn't make sense to me. So I don't think Julia's going to win, and I don't think Rhea's going to win. Even though you can look at this match and look at Rhea and feel the same way you feel about Seth. It makes sense. She's the biggest star. She's the biggest person. She should be the safe bet, but I actually think she's one of the safe bets to not win. And Rhea. I don't know how. Some bullshit, probably. But I just feel like Rhea's not winning this match. Although if she did win, Mommy in the Bank writes itself. It does. Just you can sell all the shirts.
It's very possible.
Yeah, sell all the shirts, change the briefcase, but Mommy in the Bank, come on.
I mean, because they did change the briefcase for Damian Priest when he was sending.
They changed the briefcases. Yeah, Tiffany had the handbag, the pink one with the handbag. I expect whoever wins the briefcases now that they're going to get more personalized briefcases most of the time. If Alexa Bliss were to win and she turned it like black and evil, like kind of an evil looking briefcase, Naomi would be caution tape. Rhea Ripley would probably go the dark metal-ish looking route as well. Stephanie Vaquer, I could see it, devilish kind of like with the horns. Yes. Yeah. Like I think that's a thing they're going to do now.
LA Knight would do the probably big or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, he had a custom strap for the U.S. title. I didn't know that until recently.
Yes, he did. Which is another reason why I think there's a chance, Drew, that he could win. Could you see Penta doing like his face logo or like a red briefcase or something like that? Like I could easily see El Grande Americano will definitely have a red, white, and blue one. An American flag one for sure. 4th of July is coming up.
Anyway. So I say definitely Naomi is my number one, but I say Alexa Bliss. So if I'm doing a ranking again, like the first one, I go Naomi 1, Alexa 2, I'd go Rhea Ripley 3, I'd go Roxanne 4, Stephanie 5, Julia 6.
Okay. I would go Naomi 1. I'm putting Alexa Bliss 2. Then I would go Roxanne 3, Stephanie 4, Rhea 5, Julia 6. That's where I would probably
some similarities, some differences.
Yeah. I do think that 3 of these 4 matches are going to be very good. Money in the Bank matches are always pretty good. There's a bunch of shit, it's chaos. So those matches are going to be entertaining. I really do think that Becky and Lyra are going to have an even better match than they had at Backlash, and that was a tremendous match. I think this match will be better. And then that tag match, I think will have a lot of drama and, kind of BS with it. But I don't have high hopes with what we've seen from Cena so far. I just don't have high hopes. I don't have high hopes.
Such a
but we'll see. So yeah, we'll kind of go from there. El Grande Americano defeated AJ Styles and CM Punk to get into that match. I knew he was going to win. I was predicting that he was going to win the whole time. I said El Grande Americano is getting in this shit. And CM Punk had some nice things to say about AJ Styles after that match, which I thought was nice. That was the first time that they had wrestled in 21 years, since 2004, that AJ Styles and CM Punk were in a ring together wrestling. That's crazy. But yeah, CM Punk said, if you know anything about AJ Styles and CM Punk, you would know what we really don't care for, that we don't really care for each other. But if you want me to ruin everything that you think you know, I can. Past performance predicts future behavior, right? And then he put on Instagram, he said, I've got a lot on my plate right now, but I'll always make room for you. Thank you for the boot print on my nose. Let's not wait 21 years for the next time. You're a legend. So CM Punk putting AJ Styles over a little bit. All right. I love when wrestlers wear pink. Kyle Fletcher with the pink. Punk had the pink trim on Monday. Punk always looks good on the pink trim. He always looks good with the pink
Kyle
trim.
Fletcher always looks good in the pink.
Relax. Keep it in your pants. He needs to start growing his hair back.
Hey, it's my month, damn it. I'll say what I want.
It's fair. That's fair. But he needs to start growing his hair back a little bit. But
no problems there at all for me.
Yeah, grow your hair back. But yeah, I'm expecting Money in the Bank to be pretty good. I'm expecting it to be pretty good. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, before we transition over to the AEW side of things and that 4-hour Dynamite last night, let's talk about a debut that happened this week. So the very next evening on NXT, we had Jacy Jayne, the new NXT Women's Champion, in the ring, cutting her first promo since really shocking the world and beating Stephanie Vaquer for the world title, which nobody saw coming. And it kind of turned into, hey, everybody who's left in the NXT women's roster is coming out here to basically tell Jacy Jayne they're coming for the title. It turned into one of those segments. And then it starts breaking down a little bit. People start brawling. Jacy Jayne are in the ring. We don't know yet, Sandy. We don't know yet. And the lights go out. And when they come back on, we kind of get to that little overhanging area that NXT has where they do their interviews and stuff like that. And someone that used to go by the name of Mariah May is there. And she's looking beautiful. She's looking wonderful. Looks like $1 million. Looks like she was ready for this moment her whole life. And she grabs the mic and she says, I am finally here. And the crowd is losing their mind. They're losing their mind upon the sight of her. The crowd is losing their mind. And it is official. We don't know what she'll be called yet. The report is that she will get a name change. But they were saying that NXT just became more glamorous. So they are going to stick with that glamour gimmick and all that fun stuff. But there will be a new name. But Mariah May is officially a member of WWE. She showed up on NXT. I do not think she is in NXT for long at all. I think this is hey, we just called up a bunch of people. Why don't you hang down here for a little bit? And then you're next. But we all knew it was coming, but it still felt like it was kind of real quick. Really. And she's there now, man. And again, I'm not one of those people that... Listen, Drew, we talk about both. We're about to talk about AEW. If you asked me, hey, would you have preferred her stay in AEW? Yes, I would have. I would have preferred that she stayed in AEW. However, I'm pumped that she's in WWE because that's where she wants to be. It's a dream of hers. It always was a dream of hers. She was always very open from what we hear with AEW management that if the opportunity was there, she was going to explore it. I feel very happy and very excited for her. I think that on match number 1 for her, she should become the new NXT Women's Champion. Match number 1. Immediate. I don't even think that they should wait around. I think it should be at Evolution. Have her debut match be at Evolution for the world title. She wins the title. But again, I don't expect her to be in NXT long. But she's officially there, Drew. Mariah May is in WWE. We knew it was coming, but now it is official. And that is a big get for WWE as they continue to bolster their already very powerful women's division throughout the company.
Yeah, good for her. That's what she's wanted. And wish her the best there. I think she will do well.
Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%.
I'm not going to watch NXT, though.
You should. It's the best show they have. Yeah, Peggy, I've always wondered that as well. Because it feels like there is a little bit of a pick and choose. You know what I mean? Like, why did Ricky Starks have to change his name and Mariah May has to change their name, but Jordan Grace didn't? Or Julia didn't? Or Roxanne Perez didn't? Like what I never understood why some people have to and some people don't. I'm assuming it's contract or rights or copyright things. I'm assuming business stuff that I am not privy to, nor do I really kind of care about. But I do think it's very weird. I do think it's very weird how Jordan Grace and Roxanne and Julia and people like that get to keep their name. Stephanie Vaquer, they get to keep all their names, but Mariah May, well, could one of the reasons be they were those names on AEW?
Because Stephanie Vaquer was Stephanie Vaquer.
But that was a one match. It was a one match. That was a Forbidden Door one match. It's not like she was there. You know what I mean?
The
only thing that separates the people that have had to have name changes to the people that haven't was the people that have had to have name changes had those names in AEW.
Has anyone from AEW besides Punk and
Cody, obviously.
Cody, have they?
CM Punk, Cody,
Ethan Page,
yeah. So that kind of So Ethan Page kept his name. So I'm assuming it's more contract and money related than it is things of that nature. But exactly.
Jade.
Yeah, she's not going to NXT.
Jade.
Yeah. She's not going to NXT because that's where her talent level is. She's going to NXT because they literally over the span of the last 90 days got rid of their 3 best women's wrestlers in Julia, Roxanne Perez, and Stephanie Vaquer. So you put Mariah May there to kind of keep that division revitalized a little bit and then have her work with some of the younger talent and kind of add a big name to that because they just lost a bunch.
I will say they put her on NXT because, well, for a couple of reasons. But one of them, the only reason that it made sense for her to be in NXT was for Stephanie Vaquer and Julia and Roxanne and Jordan Grace to be moved up to the main roster.
Yeah, because Jordan Grace was in that segment on Tuesday, though. She was in that segment talking about
the
title still. So I know she was part of the rumor with Ricky that they were all going and learning the WWE way, like cameras and kind of how they shoot compared to how AEW. I don't think that'll take a long time for Mariah May to understand, but that's why Julia and Stephanie were down there so long, was learning the WWE way of things, for sure. Yeah. Look, it's
there's the other obvious reasons why. But
what are those?
Because they're gonna get a guaranteed holy shit chant from the crowd.
Oh yeah,
because that crowd is absolutely watching AEW as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then any chance to get under Tony Khan's skin makes Triple H a wonderful, wonderful, joyous human being. So,
I would say I think it makes Nick Khan a wonderful and joyous human being more than Triple H. I think Nick Khan is really the guy that is behind it more than Triple H. But I do agree.
Next, they're all waiting and eagerly anticipating the Tony fumble chance, which he did not fumble.
Oh no, he actually treated Mariah May. Yeah, Mariah May was one of the people that he treated. I mean, she was part of the best wrestling angle in all of professional wrestling for the last year and a half. So again, and it seems like she left on good terms. It seems like this was not, we always had heard about the ends of a lot of AEW wrestlers, how they butted heads with Tony and Tony didn't use them and all this stuff. This was not the case. This was somebody where Tony used Mariah May to the best of her ability. She was a champion for a long time. She was in this great storyline for almost 2 years, and they treated her really well. And then she believed in herself. It was her dream to go to WWE. They offered her a contract when she first came over. She said, nope, I'm going to go over here and bet on myself, and then I'll come back to you and make even more money. And that's what happened. And now, they have a future star in their thing. So we'll have to see how it goes.
The last thing that I will say is, personally, in my opinion, I think the big leagues is where the big money contract is.
Yes, I agree.
So, congrats to her, though. I mean, I genuinely, I am happy for her. That's what she wanted, and she'll do great there.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Now let's talk about her previous employer, AEW. They put on a 4-hour show last night on a Wednesday. We're getting another 4-hour show next week on a Wednesday.
And if the next week's 4 hours was like last night's 4 hours, woof. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good show. But the one thing I did notice was there were a ton of multi-person matches on this show, a ton. And there were not enough women's segments. You have a 4-hour television show and 2 women's matches is the best you can give me? 2? It felt like you were trying to get almost every guy in your company in a match last night. You know what I mean? So, like, it was very odd. You had 8-man tags. You had 2 trios matches. You had 2 separate fatal 4-ways. You had a tag match. You had all these multi-person matches on the 4-hour show to try to get as many people on the card as you could, it felt like. But yet you only could give us 1 women's match in both 2-hour shows because they did it. It was Dynamite and Collision back to back, right? But either way, I thought the show was pretty solid.
This was not a pay-per-view stuff.
No, the fact that they said it was the fact that Tony said free pay-per-view, it was clearly this was a 4-hour television show. I'm not saying that was a bad show, but don't build it up as a pay-per-view when it's clearly not going to be a pay-per-view.
And in fact, last night made me realize how different TV is versus pay-per-view.
Oh yeah. Like, not even close. Yeah. I thought the show started hot. Will Ospreay coming down to the ring. That was basically a squash. Which we'll get to that. I thought she actually looked really good, but we'll get to that. But yeah, that was basically, a glorified squash, I would say. But Ospreay gets welcomed to the ring by Tony Schiavone. They show a little recap of the Hangman, Swerve, and him segment from last week. Ospreay says he's embarrassed. He says, me and Swerve have been friends for a really long time. Trying to get him and Hangman to work together, I know is not one of my brightest ideas. And I know they hate each other, but I feel like if we can just put that aside for one night, the real enemy here is Jon Moxley. And if we can get along for one night and just get the belt off of him, then you guys can go back to wanting to kill each other again. That's all I'm asking. One night. Just let's focus on the main objective, and that's getting the title away from Moxley. And then he kind of he turns his attention to Jon Moxley. And he says, John, you walk around here saying you hate what AEW has become. Well, I got some advice for you then. Why don't you piss off? He goes, because the worst part about AEW is the fact that you're the world champion. He goes, last week I asked Swerve if Hangman or the Death Riders was the greater threat. And he goes, and now starting to see some of his actions, I'm starting to think that Swerve might also be a threat as well. And Ospreay says, Swerve, I love you, brother. I would take a bullet for you. But before I would take a bullet for you, I would take a bullet for AEW. So if you want to keep Hangman from that title and you think you're going to get involved and try to prevent him from winning that title, I can't have that. And if I have to be the one to stop you, I will be. And he challenges Swerve Strickland to a rematch next week on AEW Dynamite. Summer blockbuster. So before we get to the second half of this, because we did see, we'll just do it all. We get this mysterious music. Ospreay doesn't know who it is. I didn't even know who it is at first. And these were not the gentlemen that I would have picked to come out and interrupt Will Ospreay.
Definitely not the gentleman I would have picked either.
But Crew comes out. Action Andretti, though, Action Andretti did call him Mr. Bruv, though. And I enjoyed that. David, do you pay attention to anything? Because TNA is in a contract with WWE, so I don't think that's going to happen. So can we focus on the shows, please? Appreciate you being here, but the nonsense you put in the chat is just too much sometimes. Like, focus on what we're talking about. Action Andretti, he did call him Mr. Bruv, which I enjoyed, and I think that Will Ospreay should have a T-shirt that says Mr. Bruv. I actually think that is proper. Yeah, he says a couple things, and he really just passes the mic to Lio Rush. And Rush says, you know what, Will? He goes, you're a true Brit, and I love that about you. He goes, the crowd loves it about you. He goes, but one thing about true Brits, if you've known them, is they do a lot of yapping. And he goes, we just got off a flight from Japan. He says, Action Andretti's chilling tonight. He goes, but I got some pent-up anger, and I got something to prove. And he goes, and personally, I think the worst thing about AEW is your dumbass. And then Ospreay said, Ospreay kind of puts his arm around Shivani, and he says, oh, he goes, you got some pent-up anger. He goes, all right, well, I would like to help relieve you of that anger. So, and then Ospreay literally turns to the crowd, and he says, y'all want to see a Will Ospreay match tonight? And the loudest pop of the night. The loudest pop of the night happens. That crowd fucking exploded when he asked them if they wanted a Will Ospreay match. Exploded. And then we have Lio Rush and Will Ospreay happening later on in the second half of this show on Collision. I thought it was a good opening segment. I'm still very intrigued about the Hangman Swerve Ospreay angle. I'm very intrigued about where they're going. That's
the most intriguing thing at the moment. Yeah. The Crew thing literally didn't give a shit about that.
That was just a way to get Ospreay on the show wrestling, and it's a good opponent. Lio Rush fits how Ospreay fights.
Yeah, they had a fine match.
Yeah, we'll talk about but that's what it was. That's what it was. But the meat of it is really Swerve, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later because other things happen here. But the meat of it is
we're not actually going through this whole 4-hour show.
No.
Because we're going to be here for a long fucking time.
No,
if we do that.
We're going to be here. We've been here. We'll be done by our normal time. You kidding me? What do you think? I'm not a professional. I end the show on time every week because I know what to do. True. Come on. We talk about AEW, so we have to talk about the show. That's how we do things right now.
I know we have to. I know we have to talk about the show, but let's not cover it segment by segment.
Well, we are. So after that, we have Mark Briscoe against Jon Moxley. This match was exactly what I expected it to be. It was good. It was fast-paced. It was fun. I say it every week. I always have a good time when Mark Briscoe's on my screen. I expected both these guys to be bloody messes in this match, though. But Moxley
didn't bloody for months.
Yeah, I was shocked. I thought Briscoe would be the perfect type of opponent that would bring the blood back for Moxley, as I expected this to be a bloody mess for both of them. But Briscoe is bloody. They have a really, really good match. A fun match. Obviously, Wheeler Yuta and Shafir are around ringside and they get involved. But at the end, it's Jon Moxley choking out Mark Briscoe and winning by referee stoppage with the sleeper hold. And that's how this one ends. So a good match to make Moxley look strong. He is the world champion. He is, the other half of the saga that's going on with Hangman. So I thought that this was a good match. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good opening match for Dynamite after the opening promo segment.
Yeah, I agree. I'm like kind of genuinely enjoying Jon Moxley right
now. Yeah. I think this is easily the best he's been presented since the Death Rider. And it's been a little bit now, the last couple months or so. But I think this is easily the best that he's been presented. Yeah. I need to turn this fan on, dude, because it is like 90 degrees outside, or it's going to be today, and I am sweating balls. So I'm doing it. I need air. I need air.
Not deprive yourself of it.
No. But, yeah, I thought it was good. And this is not the last time we see Moxley. Mercedes Moné. Supposed to be on commentary for this tag match. It's Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa against Julia Hart and Sky Blue. But instead of being on commentary, she calls for a couple of the guys that work there to bring her own table. And she eats a steak dinner during this tag match with Toni Storm and Mina. Solid tag match. One you would expect. Obviously, this is to build Mercedes and Toni some more. This is what you expected it to be. Toni Storm gets the win with the chicken wing over Sky Blue. And then after this match, Toni goes outside. She goes to Mercedes. Mercedes looks like she's ready to throw down or ready to talk some shit. And Toni just walks right by Mercedes and just picks up her steak and just starts eating the steak.
Look
right
good.
In front. Oh, it looked like a pretty good steak. Look a little well done for my taste. But
when I was eating meat, I was a well done guy. So.
Excuse me?
I was a well done guy. Is that a problem?
Yeah, it is actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to see the blood still?
The medium rare is the way you eat steaks.
No rare.
Yeah, medium rare.
Rare is just disgusting.
If you eat a steak well done, there's something wrong with you. Something wrong with
medium. Medium rare.
Medium rare is the proper way to eat a steak. Medium should be on your burgers. But I can accept medium. Anything above medium well done, you're a psychopath. Yeah,
you're a psychopath if you still want to hear it moo, as Bret Hart said.
I people have it rare. I'm not a rare guy. I'm a medium rare.
Yeah, rare is there still. It's medium rare.
Yeah,
no rare.
But medium is medium. The properness, the best way you can take in a steak is medium rare. The taste in its purest form. That's just how it goes, man. It's just how it goes. But again, I can accept medium. Medium's all right. But either way, Toni just starts eating this steak, absolutely insulting. Imagine you were at a restaurant, Drew, and you ordered a $45 steak, and somebody just came up to your table and just took it with their damn bloody hands and just started eating it right in front of you. Do you understand how insulting that is?
That's very insulting.
I would rather you punch me in the face. So we get down to blows than you take my steak. Repulsive behavior. But that's what happened.
Why medium for a burger but medium rare for steak?
Because I just think that steak in its proper form is medium rare. Steak has no sauce. It needs no sauce. Although if you're at a nice restaurant and they offer a béarnaise is nice. But you don't necessarily. Here's the thing. If you get a steak well done, you need a sauce because otherwise you're eating fucking cardboard. So.
Well, I'm a sauce guy. So.
Yeah. Okay. I was talking to Auntie Collins last night about this, and we talked about this steak. And she said that she went on a date in her early 20s with the guy, and he ordered it well done and asked for ketchup. And I told her that I would have left the dinner. I wouldn't have asked for a leftover.
I would have left the dinner.
I wouldn't have asked for a leftover box. I wouldn't have paid a cent. I would have gotten up and said, "Get the fuck out of here, you psychopath." I would have felt like my life was in danger.
Well done and ketchup.
I would have felt like my life was in danger. I would have said, "I'm here with a killer. I'm sitting here in this dinner with a killer. This guy kills people." That's what I would have said. That's how I would have felt.
That's disgusting.
Unbelievable. Couldn't believe it. And I'm not an anti-ketchup guy. But ketchup on steak, what are you, 5? Get it together. Unbelievable. Anyway. Oh, you could get it with Oscar.
I love ketchup.
Are you a seafood guy? Do you not like seafood? Do you like seafood?
I don't eat it anymore.
Oh, that's right. Because sometimes you can get the steak with the Oscar where they put like the crab stuff on it with that song. Oh.
That sounds yummy.
Fuck. I need a steak.
Another life.
I need a steak. Yeah.
All right. Kill me.
Yeah. Damn it. Now I need a steak dinner soon. Bitch. All right. Will Ospreay is interviewed backstage, but he is immediately interrupted by MJF. MJF warns him to stay out of the Hangman and Swerve business because if Hangman wins the title, well, we know Will can't beat Hangman, so he'll never win the title. And then Ospreay says, Max is always thinking, you're always thinking about yourself, but I think about AEW first. And I know, and he goes, and I know you don't want Hangman winning because we all know that you can't beat him. And then it looks like Ospreay's about to take off and leave. And then MJF says, hey, how's your son doing, by the way? And he mentions them by name. I forget the name, but he goes, how's your son doing, by the way? And that obviously,
Harry.
Is it Harry? That was obviously upset Ospreay. He grabs MJF, and just as he grabs him, we see MVP show up. And then all of a sudden, behind Will Ospreay, we see Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley. And Will Ospreay finds himself surrounded by the Hurt Business. And MVP says, hey, we have business elsewhere tonight, so we wish you the best of luck against Lio Rush a little later. And they all leave, except Bobby Lashley, who kind of hangs around for a few seconds. He kind of straightens out Ospreay's shirt and stuff like that. They have a little bit of an extra stare down, and then he leaves. If you're teasing me, if you're teasing Will Ospreay versus Bobby Lashley, give it to me. Give it to me. Because that's a match I am ready for. It seems like they might be teasing that right there, a little foreshadowing. But I like this segment. I thought this was a really good segment. I like how MJF is still, he's on the outskirts, but he's still involved in the things that are happening with the world title. I like that.
I did like this interaction a lot because it does seem like maybe we could get a singles Bobby and Will Ospreay match. And oh boy, I would be a big fan of that.
Yes. Yes, I would as well. I hope it happens sooner than later. That would be a lot of fun. And then we get the Hurt Syndicate making their way down in the ring. MVP is putting over Shelton and Bobby, saying they're the best tag team in the history of the sport. That could be potential. I don't know. I think Ospreay is going to be in a tag. I don't know. We'll see. We got some time. He says they're the best tag team in the history of the sport. He says, put any dream tag team together from any time in the business, anywhere, and nobody will be able to beat these two guys. He goes, and if this is where the best wrestle, where are all the best tag teams? And he goes, they're in your imagination because they don't exist. Because no one can beat these two guys. And then he goes, now I need you all. He goes, now that business is done, I need you all to show some respect to the young genius MJF. And the crowd is really getting after MJF. They're chanting, shut the F up chants. They're barely letting him speak. He does the typical thing where he runs the crowd down, calls them a bunch of pores and dumb schmucks and all this stuff. But he says he wants gold, just like Shelton and Bob. And he says that means he wants his AEW World Championship back, which means he has to unfortunately start wrestling more. He says, but I'll get over it. And then he goes, and that brings me to the country of Mexico. And this is where, Drew, I got real nervous when he said that. I was like, uh-oh. I was like, keep it cool, MJF. Keep it cool. And it didn't get that bad. But I was like, uh-oh. But it was fine. So he says apparently the country of Mexico believes that their top guy is Mystico. He goes, but that can't be true because I'm the best wrestler in the world. He starts talking about that. He plugs Happy Gilmore too. And he says Mystico's a Lucha Libre legend, but Max thinks I think he's just a big fish in a small pond. He goes, but I'm feeling philanthropic tonight. He goes, not that anyone here or watching knows what that means. And then he goes, next week, I'm going to watch Mystico's match, and then maybe, just maybe, I'll deem him worthy to wrestle him at Grand Slam Mexico in a couple weeks. And then we have Commander, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Kevin Knight make their way. MVP. Now, I don't know if anybody are big Bruce Lee movie fans. I wouldn't say I'm a diehard one, but I've seen most of the movies. MVP called Speedball Mike Bailey white shonuff. And if you don't know what that means,
I do not.
Google after this show, Google shonuff and find the images for his character. I laughed for like 10 minutes. White shonuff. And then he called Bruce Leroy and the Blue Ranger. That's what he called these three guys. And then Commander goes after MJF. He says, Lucha Libre is part of my culture. You insult Lucha Libre. You insult a hero of mine in Mystico. You insult Mexico. He's going after MJF. Then Speedball grabs the mic and he curses them in Quebecois, I think is the name of the language there, Quebecois. He insults them. They were saying some bad stuff. I can't say it on these airwaves, but they were saying some bad stuff, man. Both of them.
You know what they were saying.
They said some. I got to translate it to me afterwards, but they said some dirty stuff. They said some dirty stuff. But Speedball says they're a group of international killers and they're here to answer this Hurt Syndicate's challenge. Then Kevin Knight grabs the mic and he says, "Hey MJF, since you might be too stupid to understand what my two friends said, let me translate that for you. We want to fight the Hurt Syndicate tonight, and we want to beat your stupid ass." Yeah, they said bad words. They said bad words. Fernando might know. I don't know what his nationality is, but they said bad words. And then MVP says, "You haven't earned it, so why don't you, if you want to stand up against us, why don't you prove it to us and earn it?" And then that leads to those three men, Jet Speed and Commander, going against La Facción Inhernoble, Beast Mordos, you're one of your favorites, I know. Dralistico and Roosh. Good 6-man. AEW knows how to book 6 men. Insane. Everyone hitting their shit. Crazy match, but we knew who was going to win. Jet Speed and Commander win. I did like the end segment, though. Well, first of all, Dralistico does that springboard crucifix driver, which looks like it should murder people. When he hits that move, it looks like the guy should die. Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
It looks like the guy should die. Like he should just die right there in the ring when that happens. That move is insane. How that move doesn't win match? How does that move not win a match? I've been watching wrestling for 30 years, longer than that. And whenever I see that move, I'm like, that guy's dead. That guy's dead. And they just pop right up. What? But anyway, I like the ending sequence with Kevin Knight hitting a beautiful UFO from the top rope, basically at the same time that Commander did his little rope run gimmick to the guys on the outside. I thought it was a nice little whatever. But again, another multi-man match that was entertaining, but not a ton of substance to it. But Jet Speed and Commander get the win. I will tell you this, Drew. I am all in, no pun intended, on Jet Speed being the guys that go after the tag titles. Because I think that's a legitimate team going after the Hurt Syndicate.
I'm in love with that.
Yeah. I think that would be a good match for All In with Jet Speed versus them. I think that would be really the first tag title defense in like 4 or 5 months that I would really be intrigued and interested in for the Hurt Syndicate. I would be really in on that. I really like Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey.
So do I.
After the match, MVP and the Hurt Syndicate show up on the stage again. MVP says that they were impressive, even though they got their asses kicked. For 10 minutes. I think it's happening after that, Fernando. I think it's happening after. They would have to hurry up and do that. But I don't think they're doing that. Two bad guys teams, they're not doing that right now. They're not doing that right now.
No.
That's going to happen later on. I think it's going to be Jet Speed. That are going to be the guess. I think it's going to be Jet Speed versus Hurt Syndicate. So MVP books a trios match for next week. It'll be Jet Speed and Commander versus Bobby, Shelton, and MJF. And then he says, but you're going to get a preview of that ass whooping now. Benjamin and Bobby make their way to the ring, and they get fought off by Jet Speed. And then MJF makes his way to the ring, and he gets a drop kick by Commander. And the Hurt Syndicate are actually, end this segment, kind of running off and being reeled, like kind of reeling and running off. And the babyfaces stand tall here. So I thought that was pretty good. We then had a Paragon thing with Daniel Garcia in the back. Not much to it. They're fighting the Don Callis family later on in the evening, which we'll get to. And then we had a patriarchy segment where Christian Cage talks about Nick Wayne's performance in the Super Juniors. He says he rags on him for not winning. He says, but he had a grueling schedule. And as the Ring of Honor television champion, he's going to defend his title right here in Denver. Nick Wayne stands up and said, "You did this before I left, and it was light work. I'm ready, whatever." And Christian says, "All right, that's good, because the stakes are higher this time because you're going to be in a fatal 4-way." And that's how that segment
Which I thought
ends.
was weird, since there was another 4-way for a title on the same show.
I agree.
All right.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Yeah, there were just a ton of multi-person matches. Just a ton. There were 3 4-ways. No, 2. Yeah, there were 2 4-ways, 2 trios matches, and an 8-man tag on this show. That's like a lot of multi-person matches.
Yeah.
A lot.
And barely any women.
You know? I would hopefully they course correct. They have another 4-hour episode to, be better next week. So let's hope.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you remember, and get it out of the way now, so we're not doing it at the end. I will not be here next Thursday.
I do remember.
Okay. So,
Drew's like, "Woo, I don't have to watch 4-hour Dynamite." Great.
I'm sure I'll watch it. But...
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Stay tuned. I'll find somebody, or maybe I'll just solo it so I can be done in an hour and be like, "See you later." I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see, because we're gonna have the Money in the Bank review on that show as well. So I'll reach out, see who's available. Maybe get a guest. I know Drew went solo a few weeks ago. Maybe I'll do solo, but we'll see.
If you get Auntie Collins, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I know she's on the West Coast though, so we start at like 6 a.m. for her, which is early. That's early. All right. We then had the 5-minute open challenge returning. I'll tell you what. Max Caster is really doing the best he can with all this. He's gotten this over.
Yeah,
he's gotten this over.
It's actually kind of insane.
Yeah, good for him. I know he gets a lot of shit, and a lot of it is just. But he has really made the best of this, and he's gotten himself over here. And the crowd chanting with,
you're the best wrestler.
Yes, and the whole crowd chants it. Crazy. But we have another 5-minute challenge. This one is answered by Powerhouse Will Hobbs, and this match does not last 5 minutes, Drew.
No.
This match did not last 5 minutes. I don't even think it lasted 1. But Will Hobbs dominates, destroys with a rock bottom, by the way. He won with a rock bottom. He beat Max Caster.
That means, obviously, Powerhouse Hobbs sold his soul.
Correct. And then we had the first of our fatal 4-ways, the main event of the first half of Fyter Fest. It was for the International Championship. It was Kenny Omega defending against Mascara Dorada, Brody King, and Claudio Castagnoli. Great 4-way here. Great. I thought Mascara Dorada was incredible in this match. It was 45 seconds. Fair enough. There you go. That match was 45 seconds between Hobbs and Caster. I thought Dorada, for being somebody that I have not seen a ton of, I thought he was incredible in this match. But all 4 guys were really good in this match.
And that's what I mean. That's the beauty of the Forbidden Door thing, is seeing people, Hechicero, Duralistico, like so many guys who've been wrestling in Mexico and elsewhere that I just don't have the time to see all the time. It really helped bring in all of these newer people and the style, which I don't hate the style, or I happen to think the lucha style might be my favorite. But just because I don't have enough time to be watching everything, I am very happy for moments like this where I get to see some new people and become a fan.
Yeah, I fully agree. There was a spot on the outside here where Brody King had Claudio against the guardrail. That is in 2 weeks, Ophelia. So next week is Summer Blockbuster, another 4-hour show. And then the week after that, I believe we go back to 2-hour shows, but it's going to be Grand Slam Mexico. And then I think we have 3 weeks of regular Dynamite and Collisions before All In, because I think there's still 5 weeks of shows.
Now there's another, I think that 300th episode is also.
Is that somewhere? Is that the one after Mexico? They didn't already do. No,
so.
they didn't already. Oh, that was the 3-year, right? Was that not?
Oh no, it's not. I'm sorry. So next week is Summer Blockbuster. The following week is Grand Slam Mexico. Then they're doing a regular Dynamite Collision taping, and then is the 300th episode of Dynamite and the 100th episode of Collision.
Wow.
So that's July 2nd, and then there's another week of TV, and then All In.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't mind it. But Brody King was going to do that like running splash he does on the outside where he has his opponent sitting in a chair. So he has Claudio sitting in the chair, and as he's doing it, Dorada jumps up from the barricade and looks like he's trying to give him a Hurricane Rana. And Brody King literally catches this man and power bombs him on top of Claudio. And then he runs and does the dive and squishes both of them together. Fucking love Brody King. At one point, Brody King was bleeding everywhere.
Yeah.
Had some sort of gnarly cut in his forehead or eye area, whatever. Bleeding everywhere. But this match ruled. I love this match ruled, man. This match was great. And Fernando, I 1,000% agree. 2 weeks in a row, though. Come on. What are we doing?
Yeah, that is kind of cool.
Come on. It's a little much. It's a little much. But at the end of this match, Kenny Omega tries to get the one-winged angel on like every one of these dudes, but fails. At one point, though, there was a cool spot where Kenny Omega lifted up Brody King on his shoulders, and Claudio did a Swiss uppercut doomsday device, which was a great spot in this match. Again, I really liked it. But at the end of the day, Kenny Omega hits the one-winged angel on Mascara Dorada, and he retains the International Championship. Now, at this point, Dynamite ends, and it becomes Collision. But Collision starts with Kenny Omega still in the ring right after the match, and we hear the coin drop, and Kazuchika Okada makes his way to the ring. He has a stare down with Kenny. They're both looking at their titles. They're both talking shit, holding up their titles, and they start brawling. Breaks out into a brawl. Kenny gets the better of it, and he tries to hit Okada he puts him up in the electric chair. We think to try to get a one-winged angel on Okada, but Okada scrambles away, and that's how this ends. So a little tease, and then later on in the evening, Tony Khan announces that he has a big announcement, and Tony Schiavone makes the announcement that it is officially official that at All In, it is winner take all. Kazuchika Okada and the Continental Championship on the line against Kenny Omega and the International Championship on the line. Omega Okada 5 happening at All In Texas. If you haven't seen the 4 first matches with these guys, do yourself a favor. Go watch them. 3 of them are almost an hour. Well, 2 of them are an hour long, and one of them, take some time with it. All right?
Yeah.
But go watch those 4 matches before All In. If you haven't, do it. I think it's a must. This match is going to be fucking incredible at All In. We've known it was happening for a while now, but it is official. We're getting Okada and Omega proper at AEW All In. Should be a good time, Drew. Should be a good time.
And now they didn't say that this is going to be like a unification.
No, they just said winner take all.
So we'll see if it ends up being unification, or I think that makes the most sense. There's no reason for it's literally the same title.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Nope.
Continental and national.
Well, the Continental was the the CC belt, right?
Yeah.
Which they shouldn't have never made it a belt. They should have just made it a trophy. And you win the trophy. And that's it. The fact that they made it a belt.
That whole thing still confuses me, because how do you have a tournament for this, but then you can also just defend it anytime?
Yeah, because the way that they did it this one with the second one was Okada was the Continental Champion throughout the whole thing. And then he just won the CC. So he just kept, at least the first one, if you won the tournament, you became the Continental Champion. Whereas this second go around, it was really just Okada. It was a little weird. We had a quick little Ricochet promo basically saying he's still looking for people to recruit to the stable because he wants to build a stable to kind of elevate himself. And then we had the Lio Rush Will Ospreay match. Good match. as you would expect, Lio Rush, what he can do in the ring, not many people can do. And I thought he was a good opponent for Ospreay. Ospreay, oddly enough, looked like a giant compared to Lio Rush, because Lio Rush is a small guy. Yeah. But the quickness, that the stuff where he can just stop on a dime and go a different direction when he's running the ropes and stuff, like just incredible. Crazy. Really incredible. Yeah, just real good stuff. This was a good little match, but as you would expect, Will Ospreay gets the victory, hits a Styles Clash on Lio for the victory. But post-match is where we get some juicy stuff here, Drew. I thought this was actually the best stuff that happened in the 4 hours, maybe besides the 4-way for the international title. Action Andretti gets in the ring. He jumps Will Ospreay. They're beating him down. They hit a double-team neck breaker on him. And Hangman Adam Page makes his way to the ring. Andretti goes after him. Page goes for the buckshot, but they run away. And then Will and Hangman do a little fist bump. And Ospreay leaves. Hangman grabs a mic. And he says, hey, if Will says he has my back, then I have his too. And I was like, that's good stuff right there. That's good. He goes, but I want to make one thing clear. I am my own man. I don't need help to win the world title. Not from Will Ospreay. And definitely not from one of the worst men to ever walk the planet, he says. He goes, I don't need help from the kind of man who would threaten the safety of my family for his own glory. And he goes, last week I was in here and I made a promise. He goes, and tonight I'm going to make another. He goes, I will never need, nor will I ever accept help from Swerve Strickland. And he goes, but All in Texas will be my night, and it will be a night for all of us, as I'm going to win the AEW title and bring it back to AEW. Now, before we go into the second half of this, at All In, Swerve is going to be the last guy, right? If this match main event, okay. Well, all right. After this, Moxley slides in the ring, and they have a stare down. And then as they're doing the stare down, we see Claudio, we see Marina, we see Wheeler Yuta, and Hangman is outnumbered. But then we see Will Ospreay make his way back to the ring with 2 folding chairs in hand. He gives one to Hangman. He has the other, and they're standing up to the Death Riders, and then the Death Riders retreat. And that's how this segment ends. So it's very clear that Hangman and Will Ospreay are on the same side. They are aligned. They are watching out for each other, which I like. And then Swerve is kind of the wild card. But I can't help but think that if they are going to pull the trigger and Hangman is going to win that world title, Swerve is going to be the last guy that helps him to do it. That's just the way they're telling the story. And I think Swerve is going to put everything aside and say one time. And I don't know. I think Hangman will resent him for it. And I think that's the story for after. But to me, this has to be leading to Swerve. You know how the Bucks gave him the nod against Omega when he beat him? It's going to be something along those lines. But Swerve is going to be the last guy.
I remember I had said that it would probably make the most sense for there to be the role reversal, where in the Dynasty match, Hangman came out, was going to help Swerve.
It looked like he was going to, yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It looked like he was going to attack Swerve.
Yes.
And then ended up attacking Moxley instead.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this will be the similar thing that happens where Swerve is going to come out to attack Hangman, but in his, I will say probably what will end up happening. Oh, I mean, I hope I'm going to cross every single thing that I can that that it ends up working this time, and Hangman does end up winning at All In.
Yeah.
Because I think it will even further the story with Hangman and with Swerve if Hangman couldn't do it for Swerve, but Swerve ends up getting it done for Hangman. And then Swerve even has more of a gripe because why didn't it's just like what Swerve has been saying. Like, oh, so when it was me, it doesn't end up happening. But for you, it ends up happening.
Yeah.
And it was because of me. So now you owe me, buddy. And I think that could potentially go to All Out, maybe, or not. I wouldn't say Forbidden Door because that would probably be like an international.
Yeah.
But for Swerve, it's going, well, okay, so you're getting all these opportunities, but conveniently, when I'm in the picture, it doesn't work for me. Because that's what he said last week to Will.
Yep.
So him actually getting it done for Hangman would further that story, and then that's the next big match. I would assume maybe for All Out in Toronto is Swerve and Hangman for the title.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I would be more than okay with that. But we got a long way to go before we get to All In, my friend. We got a long way to go still, so we'll have to see. But man, I hope they pull the trigger with Hangman. I really do.
I still don't know what my reaction is going to be if Moxley leaves that.
I will tell you this: if it does not main event that show,
then I'm very scared.
Correct.
I'm very scared if that does not main event.
100%. If that does not main event that show, then I think we all need to prepare. Okay.
And it is very possible that it doesn't main event.
No, it is. It is very possible that it doesn't. We then had ourselves a tag match. It was FTR going against Atlantis Jr. and Templario. I know Atlantis Jr. is a former Ring of Honor TV champ, I believe. So I knew him a little bit. I did not know much about this Templario fella. But again, this was a solid match, but not knowing much about the opponents kind of took a little bit out of it for me. But it was a good tag match with FTR. They continue to be vicious. They continue to really get good wins as there's this new heel iteration version of themselves. I thought this match was solid, but there was nothing really that like stuck out about it to me. But I thought it was a good tag match, a good win for FTR as they are clearly building towards them getting in the tag title picture, I would assume sooner than later. After the match, Stokely got on the mic. He said he had something important to say. He said FTR won again. They're the winningest tag team in the company. They have the most wins, and it doesn't matter who you are. Everyone falls to FTR. And then Dax grabs the mic, but the crowd is being relentless and not letting him speak, giving him the Dominic Mysterio treatment. And then Dax goes, well, you know what, you idiots? You don't deserve, or you're not going to hear from me speak anymore. And that's, he kind of leaves, and they were talking all sorts of shit to the crowd. That's the FTR that I like. They talk so much shit to the crowd on the way down and back up the ramp now. So much shit.
There's so much better as heels.
Oh, the best. But again, I don't know if you have anything to add about it. I thought it was a fine thing, but
it was fine.
Typical fail for FTR. And then we were at our main event of the no, that's a lie. I completely lied to everybody. Because this is a different multi-man match involving the Don Callis family, not the main event of the evening. Hi, Mikey. What's going on, buddy? Hope you're doing well, man. We had a trios match. It was Bandito and Los Outrunners going against the Don Callis family, who was represented by Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, and Hechicero. Good 6-man. Back and forth, good energy, all high-flying stuff. The Los Outrunners version of it I thought was funny, that they came out wearing the masks with Bandito and were going by Los Outrunners. I thought this match was fine, but this match, you kind of knew that Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher specifically weren't going to lose this match. And at the end of the match, they kind of Fletcher hits a brain buster at the same time that Takeshita hits a Falcon Arrow, and Kyle Fletcher gets the win. 1, 2, 3 for the Callis family. Solid 6-man here. I like Bandito. I like I like everybody in the match, but it was solid. But the win was very expected with Fletcher getting the victory here. as they are clearly continuing Fletcher going after the TNT title. That's what commentary was leaning in on with Adam Cole. So, how'd you feel about this 6-man?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, again, I thought the same thing. Definitely Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita not losing this match. Which they shouldn't, because they're two beautiful men who exist to make us all very happy people. And
fair enough, yeah.
Lou's making his second appearance, I believe.
Sure,
I think
he comes. This is
opened
a
the
real
door.
one. Yep, there he is.
Yes, that. It's only a Lou appearance if he's on the desk.
Correct. just looking out, just like, hey man, hey dude, what's up? Yeah. Don't get near the mic. You like to ruin the show, Lou. You're not ruining the show by being here, but you like to cause a ruckus. There you go. Plop on down. Plop your big butt down. Okay.
If only I had cats like that.
Well, he's old. Well, your cats are younger. They're still, they're over a year old, right?
They're actually over 2 years old now.
Okay, so they're technically adults.
They don't act like it though. So this was fine. Again, there were a lot of people I'd never seen before on this show. Some people were in this match. And that's fine for me. Like I said, I like the Forbidden Door aspect of AEW where we get to see new people. So this was totally fine.
Yeah. I thought one of the cooler parts of the show happened right after this, where we had Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne cutting a promo, and then the camera kind of pans down. So they're talking about Anna Jay, talking shit about Harley Cameron and Anna Jay, and then the camera pans down and they have Anna Jay with them.
Yeah, I like that.
So they were beating her down. They bring her out to the ramp, and it looks like Megan Bayne is going to hit the F5 or what does she call it? What does she call it? Damn it! But it looks like she's going to hit that, and Penelope stops her and she says, "No, don't do it up here. Do it off the stage." And Megan Bayne goes, "Good idea." And she starts walking towards that. And then we see the return of Tay Melo.
Yeah.
Which was nice. This was a nice little thing. Tay Melo comes out. She makes the save. She
Crowd
runs
actually
off.
popped for her, too.
Yes.
Nice.
She had some nice, new face paint and things on and stuff like that. New song. The beginning of her song very much sounded like Sammy Guevara. It was like Tay Melo. I don't know. They got they had that kind of tie in there. But I thought this was nice to see her back. It had been a while since we had seen her. Being a mom and all that. Yeah, being a mom and all that great stuff there. But good to see her back. I thought her immediately going back with Anna Jay, because they were always friendly and tag team partners and things like that. And even when Harley comes back, the trio of them, I would be behind. I liked it. I thought this was one of the highlights of the 4-hour show was Tay Melo coming back. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, I liked it. We then had a backstage thing. All right, I'm gonna be honest with you. I like Anthony Bowens a lot. Billy Gunn needs to piss the fuck off. He needs to get out of here.
Okay.
It's time for Billy Gunn to. He's doing nothing for Anthony Bowens right now. I like the Pride of Pro Wrestling gimmick. It makes sense with Anthony Bowens if you know who he is and where he aligns and things like that. He's a former minor league baseball player, still very good. If you follow him on social media, you'll see him playing baseball. Very good. Yeah. So the 5-tool player gimmick also makes sense. I think him still having, and this is not an anti-Billy Gunn thing, but as long as Billy Gunn is around, you're always just going to think about the Acclaimed. And you're always going to think about Scissor Me and all this stuff. And I just think that if you're doing a new character and a new thing for Anthony Bowens, you got to move that old shit aside. And I don't mean old as in Billy Gunn. I mean like the gimmick. Billy Gunn needs to go do something else or not be they need to separate, in my opinion.
Put him back with his son.
Yeah, if you want. Yeah, because where are they? They returned a little while ago and had one match and then they've been gone. To me, I feel like Billy Gunn is he's not adding anything to this Anthony Bowens character. And I want to see Anthony Bowens get a legitimate singles push. And I feel like as long as Billy Gunn is there, it's always going to be the same old hokey, scissor me, even though they're being a completely different character. Now, he needs to move on. He needs to move on. That's my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think when the split with Max happened, I was expecting more, but they've really not. I think we've seen Max more than we've seen Anthony.
Yeah, 100%.
And then I don't hate the pairing of Billy with him, but I think to move Anthony into a newer echelon here, we gotta just shed that and
you have to
have them part ways and have him be.
Yeah. But we did find out next week on the Summer Blockbuster, it is going to be Anthony Bowens versus Kyle Fletcher in a 1-on-1. So that should be good. That's
going to be very interesting to watch.
It should be. We then had a fatal 4-way for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. Let me tell you, I love AR Fox, man. I love
that guy gets the crowd chants for him every time he's on TV.
Yeah, that guy rules. It was AR Fox, Lee Johnson, Sammy Guevara, all challenging Nick Wayne for his TV championship. This was a good 4-way. All 4 guys had spots where they all looked good. It was good to see Lee Johnson on TV. It was good. It's been good to see Sammy Guevara kind of back on TV more regularly. But at the end of the day, it's Nick Wayne. First match back from Japan. Gets the victory. Holds on to the title. As you would expect them to do. But AR Fox had some standout spots in this match. This was
I don't remember I think Christian Cage has said in the promo on the first half of the show when they announced this match that Kip Sabian had a surprise.
He did. As he was walking away from that. So he had mentioned a different surprise, or he said, "Oh, good, that's a nice surprise because it's a 4-way." And then as he was walking away, kind of off mic, he said, "Oh, Kip Sabian has got an even bigger surprise."
Yeah, so I thought it was going to play into this match.
Yeah.
But then Kip never came out.
No.
So I was like, oh, okay. So I thought maybe, I personally actually thought that the split was happening and that Christian or Kip was going to be the surprise of costing Nick the match, but that's not what happened. So
not right away. Not right away, at least.
So what is the big surprise? I wonder.
We will have to see. I think it is going to be something along the lines of like Kip is now the new number 1 guy behind Christian in the patriarchy.
Possible.
I think that's probably the way it goes, but who knows? We'll see. Yep. How we doing, Tom? Hope you are well, my friend. And then it was time for the in-ring debut of Thekla. Heavy music, real heavy music, which I liked.
I liked it though.
Yeah, me too. And she went up against Lady Frost.
Thekla, not Thekla.
No, it's Thekla. Yeah, Thekla.
Right.
The what do they call her? The something spider? What?
Toxic spider?
The toxic spider. That's right. Yes, the toxic spider. I will say, not seeing much of her at all before this. I would say in ring, and this was a very quick match. Lady Frost hit like a few elbows, and that was all the offense that Lady Frost got. Like, this was a glorified quick squash match. Yeah. But the pace that Thekla wrestles with in the ring, it's like short, like bursts. If that makes sense.
This is the first match that I've seen.
They kept on using the word intense. And I feel like that's like a fitting word because that's what it felt. It was like, it was very like short bursts, big kicks, but it was all like compact and quick and fast. And yeah, it was kind of like, I want to see how it looks in longer matches, but yeah, she was different. She was different in the ring.
Yeah, I like her. I really do.
Yeah. And then obviously she did the spider walk. And then she does that little really twisty thing where she like twists over and it just looks cool. One of the legs like goes like up and over. It's just like a cool looking thing. Had a good spear in this match. She hit a good spear. And she had what they call the death trap. It looked like basically like a scissored arm bar of sorts. And it looked like at one point she was basically doing the Britt Baker submission, but with both hands in the mouth at points.
I didn't think about that, but yeah, I could see.
Right? Isn't that kind of like the?
Well, hers is just the one.
Yes, like a mandible claw, but she does like that
yeah.
scissor, like that Rings of Saturn almost, like, and then she does it. This was very similar, but she was ripping the mouth with both hands. But she wins with the death trap, and that wasn't that finisher or that submission. But after the match, I thought a little unnecessary, to be honest with you. Thekla attacked Lady Frost, so obviously she's going to be a heel. She attacked Lady Frost after the match. She put in that move again, that submission move, and Queen Aminata made a save, ran down to the ring. Thekla broke it and left. And then we had a promo from Aminata saying, everyone always comes to AEW and tries to make a name for themselves. And she goes, hey, Thekla, do you know what we do to spiders in Africa? We stomp them. And so next week, we're getting Thekla. Yeah. Next week, we're getting Thekla and Queen Aminata. So that should be a good little match. Poor Queen Aminata will lose, unfortunately, again, and I love Queen Aminata. Yeah. But that should be, in my opinion, it should be a longer form. I don't think that's going to be a squash match. It'll be a quick match, but I don't think it's going to be a squash match. I think Aminata will get some stuff in there so we can kind of see how Thekla works in a non-squash match, because I'm very intrigued by what I saw. It was very quick. I can't judge it too much, but I'm very intrigued about what I saw. She was very interesting to me. And then we were actually at the main event. 8-man tag. Daniel Garcia teaming with the Paragon against the Don Callis family, which was Josh Alexander, Lance Archer, Rocky Romero, and Trent Barreta. So every member of the, and I don't mean this negatively towards Josh Alexander, because he is excellent, and I do love me some Trent Barreta. But every member of the Don Callis family, it doesn't fucking matter. They were in this main event against Daniel Garcia and Paragon.
I'm going to be totally honest with you. I barely paid attention to this because
it was fine.
It was at the end of 4 hours, and then it was an overrun, which is absolutely ridiculous.
I was gonna say that. I should have started with that. But how the fuck do you have an overrun on a 4-hour TV show? You have a 4-hour TV show.
But they do that. They technically. It's not unusual anymore because they now overrun on the pay-per-views as well and make them go an extra 30 minutes, which makes no fucking sense.
At least I'm paying for that. Give me my money's. I'm fine with that. You have a 4-hour show where it's midnight on the East Coast and you have an overrun? You couldn't fit those extra 10 minutes in your 4-hour show? Are you kidding me?
Yes, excessive.
What was so important on this show that you couldn't have cut 10 minutes? Like, honestly. You couldn't have cut 10 minutes? You have an overrun. That's crazy.
Time from the...
It's crazy work.
Multiple matches.
Yeah, that's
cut
crazy
3
work.
minutes from each match on the show. There you go.
Yeah, just crazy work. Again, not a bad match. Not a bad match. AEW, like we said earlier, they know how to book these multi-team, multi-man team match. They know how to book them. It was an entertaining match. It was fine.
And I'm waiting. I'm mainly waiting for Daniel Garcia to turn.
Well,
and
I think that was really the only notable thing. Was at the end of it. You saw him staring at that title. You did.
Oh yeah,
I know you did.
He was doing it in the promo segment backstage before the match too.
Yeah. So that's really the only notable thing to me about this whole thing was. At the end of the match, Daniel Garcia has his eyes on the TNT title. When he lifts up Adam Cole's hand to celebrate with him, he is eyeing that title. He's not looking at anything else but that title.
Get you a man that looks at you the way that Daniel Garcia looks at the TNT title.
There are a lot of people that wish that Daniel Garcia would look at them the way he looked at that TNT title. There are a lot of people.
I'm sure there are.
Yeah. And then that was it, Drew. That was the 4-hour Fyter Fest that happened last night. And we get to do it all again next week. For Summer Blockbuster, another 4-hour show. Again, I'm not complaining about having to watch more wrestling, especially AEW, which even like a show last night where I just think the length is what really did the most damage to it over the substance, because I thought the show itself, like all the matches were fine to good. We had the Hangman Ospreay promo thing was good. The Ospreay opening promo was good. I liked the Mercedes Tony stuff. Like throughout the show, there was a lot of good stuff on the show.
Just don't promote it as something that it's not.
Yeah,
that's
I think
thing.
Calling it a free pay-per-view was don't do that. Don't do that.
Because for the crew to come out in 6 minutes, not a pay-per-view.
Yeah, so I think there's certain things like that. You need more women on the show. If you have a 4-hour show, you need more than a match and a segment.
Well, no,
every 2 hours.
It was just like an AEW pay-per-view. There were 2 women's matches. Like,
you know.
But it doesn't make sense. I hope that they fix that for next week.
Yeah. Any other stories or wrestling things in the news or anything like that we didn't hit?
I mean, there's probably 100, but I can't think of one right now off the top of my head.
Yeah. Is there 100? 100?
There must. I mean, there's something with Vince. There's something with.
Wow. We don't talk about that guy. Even though you apparently love him. So, earlier you were just, no, I'm kidding. That was a joke. Guys, that was a joke. No, earlier we were like, we don't want him back, but it felt like there was more heart to the product when he was running things than there is now. It makes no fucking sense to me whatsoever how a heartless bastard can make a product feel like it has more heart than it does when he's not around. How is that possible? How is that possible? But anyway, that's something we could talk about weekly if we really wanted to. All right. We are going to get out of here. We previewed Money in the Bank. Should be a good show Saturday. When Worlds Collide will be a fun show in the afternoon as well. We talked about R-Truth and Carlito, sadly. We talked about just how we're feeling about WWE and just the direction of the company. I think that might be a good way to put it, Mikey. It's TKO trying to put their hands on something they don't quite get.
I did see a tweet earlier this morning that Brian Alvarez thinks that there are more budget cuts coming tomorrow.
Wouldn't be shocked. That would be terrible. That would be terrible. Yeah, I mean TNA could. Do you know that a WWE superstar is the TNA World Heavyweight Champion right now? And Tricky Nay? That's what he's calling it. So instead of TNA, it's Tricky Nay. That's what he's calling it now. He's calling it Tricky Nay. I like it.
Okay, that's fine. I don't care, but fine.
You should. But
I can tell you legitimately, I don't know what would get me to watch NXT weekly. I don't.
I mean, a good wrestling should. It's literally the best show they have. The gap continues to grow week after week. It's just a great television.
We should probably just rebrand to firmly NXT.
That's what, honestly, I mean, that's what makes me feel like.
What are we even bothering covering Raw and SmackDown for?
Mikey, you would get probably your ass kicked by whoever's in the ring, and then you would get arrested. Right?
Oh, yeah, don't do that, Mikey.
Yeah, that would not go well. That would not go well. You'll write Drew's name on it.
Well, that you could do, but don't do the other thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's been I wouldn't say it's been a blessing. I think it's been a blessing for their shareholders. I wouldn't say it's been a. Yeah, I think it's just been a curse for us. I think it's just been a curse for us. But I think for the business side of it and the shareholders, I think it's been a blessing. But I don't think it's been much of a blessing for anything else. I think that they are ripping the heart and soul out of the company. But we talked about that at length to start the show. We went the first almost 40 minutes kind of talking about WWE and kind of how we feel about things. And again, a separate conversation from the product, because even though not everything hits, I still genuinely enjoy watching the product. I'm excited for Money in the Bank. I thought Raw was a good show. Like I'm still high and pro on the product. It's just the other stuff that's going on is really souring me about it, because I just think that they are just, the mentality is really, it just doesn't have the soul or the heart, but it's just the R-Truth thing is such a misreading of the room and a misreading of what the fan, like, the dude's adored, man. The dude's adored. It just makes no sense. Just makes no sense. But on that note, appreciate everyone hanging around. We're going to get out of here. As you heard Drew say a few moments ago, he will not be here next week. So be on the lookout of the Firmly Inc. Social media, mine, Drew's, whether there will be a special guest host joining me or I come on solo. We will get all that figured out within the next week, but within the next handful of days, and we will announce kind of how it's going. But Drew will not be here next Thursday, but I will be with, who knows? Surprise, surprise. We'll figure it out. But Drew, plug your stuff. Let the people know where they can find you. And then I'll do my thing, and we can get up on out of here and enjoy this 95-degree day that we're getting in the Northeast.
Yeah, I'm feeling it now. I'm gonna have to.
I am too.
Open up that curtain behind me and get that air conditioner running. It's already 80 degrees. 82.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
82. That's it. It's 87 where I am. 87.
It's a little cloudy here, so that could be.
God. Anyway.
But it's going to go up to 86. So, you can find me administering New York State Regents exams next week, and boy,
Hell
am I
yeah.
excited about that.
Hell yeah.
I am not. Nobody is. Fuck you, state of New York. By the way, we're supposed to be voting for a mayor soon, a new mayor.
All right.
Well, I mean, Eric Adams is also running, but fuck him. And fuck really everybody. Nobody really is that good. So it's if you're in New York, I don't know who I'm voting for right now. It ain't Eric Adams, that's for sure. But sorry that I did that the first time. But yeah.
Hey, so at least you learned, unlike the majority of the people that live in this country. Yeah. So at least you learned. But anyway, continue. We are not a political show, but
yeah, New York is not in a great state. Is a state that's not in a great state right now.
I've always known that New York isn't a good state, but
well, your team sucks. You can follow me at the Drew Nicholas on Twitter and Blue Sky and Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast, and I will be actually. It is going to be. Oh, no, actually. No, it won't be counteracting your post show because you're doing. I'm assuming you're going to do your post show again after the full 4 hours, like you did last night, right? Next week.
Potentially. That was a late night. For me. We didn't end that show, and I had a great time, but we didn't end that show until 2 a.m.
Oh God.
2 a.m. And then I was up at a certain hour to get ready to be live at 9 a.m. today with you. So
yeah,
and this is my only day off of the week from my shoot job. So yeah, Thursdays are my only day off of the week at the shoot job, probably for a significant amount of time. And these 4-hour Dynamites,
Yeah.
Well,
next week I will be running a trivia over at the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast. I don't usually run the trivias, but it's Trivia 69.
So, well, all right. That sounds like a good time.
You can.
That sounds like a good time, does it not?
We'll be doing it at 10 p.m. though. So that Wednesday is a very busy day for me. I'll be up very early in the morning. Then I have a meeting in my building at 7, and then I have the trivia at 10, so that's going to be a big day on next Wednesday. You could vote for me for mayor of New York. I mean,
can you do a write-in?
Don't
do that. That's a waste of it. Listen, I love Drew. Don't do that.
I'm sorry. Do you not think I could run the city of New York well?
No, I don't. None of us. We couldn't just walk in there and run this. We could probably run it than the people that actually get fucking elected. We could run it better than them. Yes. Because we got a bunch of buffoons running this fucking country. But no, you and I could not just walk in there and run a state without having no experience of how to run a state.
I'm not I would say don't pick me for governor. You can pick for mayor.
All I'm saying is there are when you go into that voting booth, there's somebody that you should vote for, and there's somebody that you shouldn't vote for. So go vote for the guy that you're supposed to. That's all. And when people, again, I know it's a joke, but when people start writing in names, that takes a vote away from the guy you're supposed to vote for.
Right. Well, I don't know who the hell the
So go vote for the guy you're supposed to vote for to get the shithead out of there. Scott, I could care to fuck less.
Probably it's going to be Cuomo. All right, whatever. Yeah, I'm done. Go ahead.
Yeah. You know, it's a sad state of affairs, Scott, when you have one of the original 6 hockey teams and nobody wants to be the head coach of the team. Almost like the upper management sucks, but they always blame the coaches who they fire and then immediately go get success everywhere else. Crazy how that works. Maybe it's not the coaches. Maybe the coaches aren't a problem because you fired Bruce Cassidy, won a Stanley Cup the next year. You fired Montgomery, made it to the playoffs with a shit St. Louis Blues team the same season. Kiss my ass. But let's give our inept GM a 2-year extension. Fuck you. Anyway, follow me. JPJ loves gaming everywhere. I am everywhere. Thursday mornings, 9 a.m. with this lovely fella here, except not next week, but with this lovely fella for Firmly Inc. Thursday nights, 8 p.m., my main squeeze Pluggo, my boo, Pluggo, the flagship between two beards. We have Stephanie Hypes joining us tonight. Oh. She will be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour to preview Money in the Bank. And then you can catch me on Body Slam Monday nights after Raw Dogs. Wednesday nights after Dynamite up, even after midnight, because that's what we do. And then you can find me on The Hive. The Hive launched this week. It's been a fun, successful handful of days since the launch. I do a show over there called The Swarm with our pal CJ. We released our pro sports episode, which gets released Tuesday nights in the States, Wednesday mornings, Australia time. And then we have our wrestling show, which is going to get released around dinner time tonight. Yeah, so that's where we can do that. We also do watch-alongs and stuff like that. So if you follow me on JPJ's Loves Gaming, you'll see all this stuff. I'm kind of doing as much stuff as I physically can, even though my shoot job is trying to murder me. But anyway, that's where you can find me. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being in the chat. Appreciate you all. I should be getting back to streaming regularly within the next couple weeks. It has been very few and far between, and it is really fucking with my mental health, Drew. If I'm being honest with you, the lack of being able to or having the energy to stream has really got me in a not great spot mentally. And I don't know how to get out of it. I might go lay down in the pond in the back. I don't know.
Stream.
But that's where I'm at.
Stream today. I think that'll get you.
I can. I have an eye doctor's appointment. They're going to dilate my pupils.
Oh, shit.
I haven't had a new prescription since before the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
That's how long it's been. So they're going to go and they're going to look at me and be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'll be like, what do you mean? And I'm going to get a new prescription, which I actually think might make me actually better at video games.
Oh,
to be honest.
There you go.
So but again, I won't have the time.
So that your streaming can be just as bad.
See, the problem is with the new job, I have 7 weeks of training. Right? So we are in week 6. So next week is my last week of training. And that schedule is not what my normal schedule is going to be like once I get to where my final destination is, not the movie. But like that is not going to be, hey, listen, that movie had like the #1 box office opening for ever of that franchise or whatever. Those movies are wild. But so hopefully once I have more of a set schedule, I can plan my stuff around things and get them things in. But it's just been a tough time. And like I said, it's messing with me, but we'll figure it out. But anyway, follow both Drew and I. Follow us here at Love Wrestling. I will be back here on these airwaves in about 8 hours for Between Two Beards. That's where you can find me. And until then, you all know the drill. You'll see Drew in a few weeks. Not next week. But you'll see Drew in a few weeks. So everyone make sure you say, you give Drew some love. But until next week when I'll be here, you know the drill. Peace out.